Chapter 1. Hell Spirit Grass. Lightning flashed through the air and dark clouds covered the sky. A heavy rain was about to fall. Inside Wohu City, Chen Shang, while looking up the sky, muttered to himself, I cannot delay any longer. If I don't find a good spirit herb soon, I might never get the opportunity again. Chen Shang had just turned 16 this year, and his build was more robust than others of similar age. Although he had a handsome face and youthful countenance, his eyes have a sense of maturity that was not present in others his age. Although his grandfather was the patriarch of the Chen family, because Chen Shang didn't have any spiritual veins, he had to pick herbs for himself. Not having spiritual veins meant he was incapable of practicing martial arts. Since he was a child, he had been diligently training his own body and secretly going out to train. He once even fought a tiger-type beast. Although he was young, due to the amount of life and death experiences Chen Shang had endured, his mental state was far more fortified than the mental states of his peers. Chen Shang, what are you doing out here? A storm is about to blow in. Are you sure you want to be out in this weather? An old steward spoke while walking towards him. Seeing the amount of hard work Chen Shang did every day, the old steward could not help but admire him. However, a sliver of regret could be seen in his eyes. Chen Shang had worked very hard and practiced every day for 6 years. But he was stuck at the 3rd level of the mortal martial realm. Other Chen family members, of a similar age, had already entered into the 4th level of the mortal martial realm, and some had even reached the 5th level. This was all due to the fact that he didn't have any spiritual veins. As such, the family didn't attach any importance to him, and he was only treated as an ordinary member of the Chen family. Although he lacked spiritual veins, he had never been discouraged by it and had been diligently training himself. The process of attempting to train allowed him to feel a sense of accomplishment. Old Ma, I was just going to pick some herbs. Chen Shang laughed and ran up to the old steward, who sighed and shook his head. It's useless since you do not have any spiritual veins. No matter how hard you practice, you still won't be able to advance. Chen Xian had heard such words all throughout his life, but he still insisted that, no matter what, he would not give up. A middle-aged man walked up to the two of them. Shang are you really going to go out in this weather? Chen Shang, with a small smile on his face, said, Dad, the storm is a good opportunity for me to pick herbs as no one will be there to snatch them from me. The middle-aged man was Chen Zhang's father, Chen Tianyu, a very famous and formidable cultivator and also one of the most promising candidates to inherit the position of patriarch of the Chen family. Though his son was somewhat crippled, he had always encouraged Chen Shang, and, from time to time, provided him with precious pills. Unfortunately, the pills didn't have any effect on Chen Shang. Here, Chen Tianyu smiled helplessly and threw a small box towards Chen Shang. Chen Shang took the box without even looking at what was inside because he knew that it contained a pill. He smiled and said, Dad, thank you. Now I don't need to steal the chickens that old Ma raised for his health. That comment made the steward frown. He didn't know that his chickens had been targeted. Watching Chen Shang, as he left, Chen Tianyu could only let out a sigh because although he had a very high status within the Chen family, the elders in charge of managing the pills were very strict, as pills were precious resources for cultivation, and thus, he could only save a few of them for Chen Shang. Sadly, their therapeutic effect actually was not that significant, because they were too few in number to affect Chen Shang. What father doesn't hope for his son to become successful in life? As Chen Tianyu did not have any other methods, all he could do was acquire some pills for Chen Shang, and hope for the best. Immortal Devil Cliff. This was a very desolate place, and, at the moment, a bare-chested teenager was climbing down the cliff. Under the heavy downpour, Chen Shang was actually climbing down the cliff. This was extremely dangerous, as the Immortal Devil Cliff was very deep and filled with a type of black chi that gave off an aura of death, therefore many people didn't even want to approach this place. Nevertheless, Chen Shang still came here to pick some herbs and was gradually descending into the ravine, slowly approaching the bottom. If others were to know about this, they would laugh at him for being a madman. At a place that even birds don't shit, which was eternally filled with death chi, it was hard to imagine that it was an ideal location for spirit herbs. Of course, Chen Shang was not stupid. He knew that this Immortal Devil Cliff had been present for many, many years and had always been full of death chi. According to common sense, this lifeless place shouldn't have any spirit herbs, but Chen Shang didn't actually believe that, as he knew that when things reached to an extreme, there was bound to be some reason for that extreme to exist, and he believes this eternal death chi is caused by a legendary spirit herb. Hell Spirit Grass. Although this spirit herb sounded very deadly, it was actually a very strange herb, which could even make a dead skeleton regrow its flesh. It ordinarily grew in ancient battlefields or in cemeteries where the death chi was abundant. Only on rainy days would the black chi sink, all due to the rainfall. Because of this, Chen Shang was able to see down into the deep precipice. He wanted to go deeper into this place so that he could search for the hell spirit grass. He doesn't want the hell spirit grass for himself, but if he got this sacred herb, he could trade it for many precious pills, which would allow him to be free from his current predicament and gain formidable strength. Raindrops continuously fell on Chen Shang, making him feel very uncomfortable while also making the rocks on the cliffside very slippery. He became very cautious, and carefully climbed down the cliff, so as not to fall. Nobody knew what was at the bottom of the Immortal Devil Cliff, and there had been many who have gone down, but the number of people that have climbed back up was 0. To fall down meant death. 2 hours had passed and the rain continued to fall. Chen Shang had been exercising for many years and, just by relying on his strong body, he had descended several dozen feet into the deep precipice. Chen Shang carefully observed his surroundings and found a good temporary shelter. Then he saw something which made his heart beat rapidly. Hell spirit grass! Chen Shang shouted out with excitement. Gazing straight down, he saw something similar to a white sesame seed cake. He was confident that this was the legendary hell spirit grass. The whole ravine was filled with black death chi, and, to top it all off, the color of the hell spirit grass and the cliff was the same, making this herb very difficult to spot. Though Chen Shang was very excited, he calmed himself down and rested for a moment before continuing his journey down. It wasn't long before Chen Shang arrived next to that hell spirit grass. He swallowed his saliva and looked at the white hell spirit grass that was the size of a bowl. He could feel the vigorous life force emitted by the hell spirit grass. Chen Shang picked up the hell spirit grass with one hand. He estimated that this hell spirit grass had been growing for more than 1,000 years. Selling it on the auction would earn him an astronomical sum. Chen Shang picked up the spirit grass, put it inside his storage pouch, and then grinned, haha. It's time for this daddy's salted fish to stand up from failure. So long as he is able to sell this hell spirit grass, he will be able to purchase a lot of good rank pills, then he will be able to advance by leaps and bounds. The rain was gradually easing up and Chen Shang was very content right now, so he didn't continue searching the huge cliff, and, instead, choose to climb back up. After all, his strength was very limited, and climbing up was a very hard and dangerous task. After climbing for more than half an hour, the precipice suddenly started to tremble and shake. Chen Zhang's heart was palpitating as he realized that something bad was happening. As he looked above, he saw many small stones falling from the cliffside. As they fell into the abyss, the trembling cliff began to shake much more severely. Damn, I finally got the hell spirit grass, and this happens. Heaven, are you kidding me? The cliff's sudden shaking couldn't help but make Chen Shang curse bitterly. He wanted to remain calm, so he made himself hold on to the rugged cliff, otherwise, he would have fallen down in shock. The tremors continued to increase in strength and Chen Shang gradually fell into despair. He, again, looked up and saw a giant piece of rock falling towards him. At the same time, the rock he was holding began to crack. God, I just got the hell spirit grass, but now you are bringing me down to hell, are you f***ing with me? Chen Shang could not help but curse, but this time, the black chi started to rise up, and the rock Chen Shang was holding broke. Ah! Chen Zhang's body fell into the abyss, filled with black chi, and shouted, with unwillingness filling his voice. After an unknown amount of time passed by, Chen Shang finally opened his eyes. To his surprise, he was able to see light within the abyss, and what astonished him the most was that there was water present here. He was also able to breathe. Chen Shang floated to the surface, and he saw that he was currently in a pool shining with a white aura. What shocked Chen Shang, even more, was that, not far from him, there were 2 stunning girls with long hair, sitting on the ground. And even more shocking than before was that these 2 celestial beauties were naked. Their 2 perfect and flawless jade bodies were completely visible in front of him. Those 2, with their pure faces, which were like meticulously carved jade statues, being without the slightest flaw. Their twin peaks were abundant and their waists were slender and smooth. They were beautiful and breathtaking. This was Chen Zhang's first time seeing women as beautiful as them. The fragrant and stunning scene had a great impact on Chen Shang, shocking him into stillness. His whole face flushed red and his heart and breathing seemed to have stopped. The 2 girls were hunkered down and looking at each other. After some time, they finally found Chen Shang, but they totally disregarded him, and, seeing this, Chen Shang felt humiliated, as he was totally disregarded by the 2 beauties. After a period of absent-mindedness, Chen Shang was finally able to see that the crevasse was falling apart. There were many cracks and pits visible, broken stones were scattered on the ground and, alongside the broken stones, there were pieces of scattered white silk, which gave him the idea that a battle had been fought here. He speculated that it was these two girls that were the cause of the battle, which had led to their clothes being torn apart. Chen Shang did not know about why these two stunning and alluring girls were fighting here, in this abyss, but he realized that these two women were quite formidable, and their strength was beyond the scope of his knowledge, being able to shake the earth and move mountains with their power. These two are the cause of my current predicament. They shook the cliff and caused me to plunge down here, but, fortunately, I had some good luck and did not die. Chen Shang was angry, but, at the same time, he was curious about these two mysterious girls. Chen Shang slowly walked towards the two women, marveling at their flawless jade bodies. The abyss next to the Immortal Devil Cliff was called Hell, but, for Chen Shang, this hell was similar to paradise. There was a deep pool filled with a soothing white aura and, most importantly, beside this pool there were two stunning naked girls. Only, at this time, the two girls realized that not far from them, a pair of fiery red eyes were glancing at them, and they felt shame and anger at his leering gaze. Chapter 2. Yin and Yang Divine Veins. The two absolutely gorgeous girls did not move, yet he felt a monstrous killing intent coming from them. Their perfect eyes were squinting, due to anger, but, for some reason, they were not able to turn their heads. Sisters, aren't you cold? Why aren't you wearing any clothes? I'm feeling cold just standing here. Chen Shang did not know what to say, so he asked a random question. At this time, the coldly elegant girl, with an ice-cold face, said, "You take one more step and I will let you experience the pain of your bones corroding. You might as well just wish for death." Although the girl sounded crisp and ethereal and would have been perfect but for one thing, her voice didn't contain any emotion. The girl's looks and temperament were just like her voice. Her presence would cause anyone, who saw her, to feel cold. Her eyes were filled with a cold aura, revealing a deep hostility in them. "Brat, if you dare come closer, I'll make sure you regret ever being born into this world." The other girl spoke in a low voice. Her voice was pleasing to the ear, coming from all sides and captivating one's soul. Her beauty was that of a seductress, a stunning masterpiece to all those who saw her. Having two stunning beauties standing in front of him greatly tempted Chen Shang. Though he would never call himself a gentleman, he was not a deceitful person. At present, though the two girls were unable to move, he did not take advantage of them. Chen Shang calmed down and then spoke politely, "Ladies, this is not intentional. I was trying to harvest some herbs above the cliff, but the cliff started to shake and then I fell. I'm lucky to be alive." While talking, Chen Shang removed two gowns from his pack and walked towards the girls. He could see that the two girls weren't able to move and, in order to not let them feel any more embarrassed, he decided to cover their bare bodies. Chen Shang was now much closer to the girls and could not help but let his eyes feast on their exquisite bodies. The elegant beautiful girl could only close her eyes and endure the fiery hot gaze of Chen Shang, as he looked at her body. She trembled while emitting a cold slaughter chi, which chilled to the bone, making Chen Shang tremble. Chen Zhang's whole body was covered in cold sweat, and he felt a bit of trepidation while trying to cover the cold girl's body. Ahem. This allowed the girl to become somewhat appreciative of Chen Shang, and her complexion improved a bit. She was no longer releasing any slaughter chi. Chen Shang arrived at the seductive girl's side and saw that she was giving him a small smile, which made Chen Zhang's face slightly red. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Only then did he put the gown over her. This act made the two girls feel a bit of gratefulness in their hearts. They also felt somewhat guilty, as they had just threatened him. Moreover, they were responsible for the shaking of the cliff. If not for Chen Zhang's luck, perhaps he would have died. The two girls relaxed a little. Chen Shang did not do anything dirty to them, and this mindset of his made the girls appreciative. They were very clear on how strong a man's temptation could be, especially with bodies like theirs. "Ladies, have you been here for a long time? Can you tell me how to get out? I cannot stay here for a lifetime, I have some very important business to attend to." Chen Shang spoke with frustration. The seductive girl, with a faint smile, spoke softly and said, "Little brother, I have noticed that you don't have a spiritual vein, and, in this life, you will never be able to become a strong cultivator. However, I can gift you an extreme Yang divine vein. Furthermore, I can teach you some formidable divine exercises and also teach you alchemy so that you can refine pills. All of this could help you become a formidable cultivator, but I will only under one condition." The seductive girl threw a coquettish wink towards Chen Shang, which made Chen Zhang's desire increase a little, yet these words made him slightly startled. However, he felt somewhat uncertain. He could see that these two girls were very strong, but since they were currently injured and could not even move, how would they be able to help others? The beautiful cold girl's eyes lit up. Brat, I will also grant you an extreme yin divine vein and teach you how to practice devil exercises. My devil exercises are not any different than my junior sister's divine exercises. She looked into his eyes. Neither of us would lie to you. It is beneath us. Chen Zhang's body shook. Only geniuses were born with high-grade spiritual veins. But above high-grade spiritual veins were profound veins. After profound veins there were heavenly veins, above that there were divine veins. Having divine veins was almost like going against heaven's will. Did you injure your head somewhere from the fall? Don't make fun of me. I may not have skills, but I'm not an idiot. Although they were far above Chen Shang in power, he did not believe them. If you obtain these, becoming a formidable cultivator will not be difficult at all. However, later on, you have to help us restore our strength, the seductive girl said, shaking Chen Shang to the core. The cold girl spoke, we were attacked by a personal enemy and were severely wounded. We are now unable to move and we even lost our previous strength. Moreover, formidable demon beasts lurk around here, so we have to leave quickly. Their meridians, bones, dantian, and internal organs had been hit hard. It can be said that they were completely destroyed, and this was due to the battle with a personal nemesis, which also shook the earth and mountains. This made Chen Shang shudder. The arrival of Chen Shang was undoubtedly a good opportunity for them to leave this place. They knew that this place was frequently haunted by demon beasts and, as they were defenseless, they could end up as a meal for these demon beasts at any time. You must believe us now, otherwise, you will never be able to climb out of here in your lifetime, the seductive girl said seriously. Chen Shang had a difficult time accepting what the two had said. Receiving yin and yang divine veins and also getting devil and divine skills for free was a ridiculous idea. But, after considering everything, he could only choose to believe what they said. Chen Shang, with a bitter sigh, said, I do hope that you are not playing me. This young one is named Chen Shang. How should I address my two elder sisters? The cold beauty said, Bai Yu. 2. The seductive girl with a charming smile said, Su Mei Yao. 3. Chen Shang smilingly said, those names really fit you. Alright, what is our next step? Su Mei Yao said, we must first enact a blood deed, which ensures that both parties won't betray each other. We will do this because we will have to live together for a very long time. Transferring our divine veins to you is a very easy thing for us. Senior sister and I have dual divine veins. Giving you one of them will not affect us. Dual divine veins. Moreover, they both had them. Chen Zhang's mouth was twitching. This made it all the more difficult to believe. However, at the same time, his heart was also somewhat excited, because these two formidable girls will live together with him for a very long time, and, for any man, that would be a dream come true, but they still had to rely on him to restore their strength. Bai Yu said, we don't understand what the other is like, and to prevent that from causing disastrous events, a blood deed is a must. Su Mei Yao explained the common things about the blood deed and then explained the steps of a blood deed in detail. The blood deed was simple. First, soak a beast skin in their blood, and then draw the blood deed totem on it. Thereafter, write down the contract's content on the blood deed, then have the three bleed onto the blood deed and the process would be complete. The blood deed will form a contract with the soul. This will allow one to see the contract with their soul. The blood deed filled Chen Shang with shock. Only at this time did he believe what these two said was real. His heart was also filled with excitement, because, from now on, he will live with these beauties for a very long time. Moreover, this rotted salted fish can, not only, stand up from failure, but also can overturn Tiantian. 4. After that, the two girls, with celestial appearances, and Chen Shang formed a contract. Sisters, you can't move because your bones and meridians have received quite severe wounds, right? Chen Shang asked, as he just picked up the hell spirit grass. This hell spirit grass was known to regrow flesh and bones, and it aided recovering from an injury. Bai Yu, while nodding, said, our enemy was very strong, but that slut couldn't kill us directly, due to a blood deed, therefore she destroyed our powers and then let us sit here to wait for our deaths. Chen Zhang's arrival had, undoubtedly, saved them. Thus, they were willing to transfer their unnecessary divine veins to Chen Shang. Chen Shang was wrought with fear. These two mysterious girls, with dual divine veins, were already very formidable, but their enemy was even stronger than them and had put them in their current states. I picked up this, hell spirit grass, on the cliff above. Will this allow you to recover from your injuries? Chen Shang asked. Since he would soon have 2 divine veins, the hell spirit grass didn't matter anymore. Su Meiyao's face filled with joy, and said, yes, of course, with this we'll be able to move. Chen Shang grinned, with a simple and honest smile on his face, as he took out 1/2 of the hell spirit grass. He divided it into 2 pieces and fed the 2 women. Feeding the 2 beauties made Chen Shang quite happy. Although the hell spirit grass couldn't fully restore the injuries of the 2, it would, at least, allow their bones to recover without any internal disruption, making it so that they could walk freely, but they still would not be able to recover their strength. Sisters, what is your background, and who is your formidable enemy? This is also what Chen Shang was most curious about. Bai Yuyu coldly shot him a look with one eye. On the contract, there was nothing saying we had to tell you about this, I do not have to reply to you. Su Meiyao, reorganizing her hair, softly said, these are things you should not ask, as it will involve you too broadly. You are still young, satisfying your curiosity will only bring fatal disaster to you, which is not good for any of us. Now, let's transfer the divine veins. Notes. 1 li equals 500 meters. 2 Bai Yuyu equals Yuyu means distant representing the cold temperament. 3 Su Meiyao equals Meiyao means charming jade representing the seductive temperament. 4 Tianshan equals here Tianshan is just used as a reference, and it looks something like this. Chapter 3. Shui Shenxian. To prepare for the divine vein transfer, Chen Shang sat down on the ground, crossed his legs, and concentrated his spirit power. Both Bai Yuyu and Su Meiyao's delicate hands were pressed against Chen Zhang's stomach. From their beautiful hands, a black and a white mist surged out. The black was Bai Yuyu's extreme yin divine vein while the white was Su Meiyao's extreme yang divine vein. Both had a mystical appearance. Within Chen Zhang's body appeared a white and a black stream, randomly spreading through his muscles, bones, and meridians in waves. As they circulated, his body began to slowly strengthen, wave after wave, and, at last, the white and the black qi gathered in his dantian, forming a Tai Chi yin-yang diagram. This was the yin and yang divine veins. As Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu saw the extreme yin and yang divine veins successfully fuse with Chen Shang, they could not help but get excited. They originally thought that the fusion of the extreme yin and extreme yang divine veins would be very difficult. For them, this was an experiment, so they didn't know what would happen, but they certainly didn't expect it to be successful. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu slowly retracted their hands and watched the white and black mist start to rise from Chen Shang. Both of them had complex and surprised expressions on their faces. According to the knowledge of the sisters, there has never been a single person with both yin and yang divine veins existing simultaneously. At this time, they realized that this brat, so long as he cultivates diligently, will one day become a universally unrivaled master. Chen Shang gradually opened his eyes. He had never felt this comfortable and strong in his life. So this is a divine vein. Ah, it feels so good. Later I'll be able to enter the true martial realm. Chen Shang was somewhat excited, and a strange and evil smile flashed over his face, looking very nasty in comparison to his previously simple and honest appearance. This made the hearts of 2 beauties fill with worry. In this world of cultivators, the mortal martial realm is divided into 10 stages: refining qi, quenching body, martial body, opening vein, true qi, divine sense, true aura, divine power, true form, and finally completion. Above the mortal martial realm is the true martial realm. It is the dream of many cultivators to reach the true martial realm. After reaching that realm, one will be filled with overwhelming force, and their lifespan will be extended up to 1,000 years. Chen Shang was currently at the 3rd level of the mortal martial realm, the martial body stage. For a long time, he had been unable to enter the 4th level of the mortal martial realm, the opening vein stage. True martial realm, that would simply bring disgrace to the divine vein, Bai Yuyu spoke with disdain. Su Meiyao gave Chen Shang a serious look. You have yin and yang divine veins, your outlook must be more open. In this world, power never completely stops advancing. There are many different worlds. You are currently in the Qinwu mainland, and this is only a small piece of land in a mortal world. You have to remember the contract. You must help us restore our strength. This is not a simple matter. Chen Shang nodded repeatedly and said, as long as I am alive, I will certainly fulfill the contract and restore the strength of you, 2 sisters. Bai Yuyu nodded with satisfaction. The quickest way to restore our strength is to use dans, and they must be very high-ranking dans. After our strength is restored, the contract will be complete. At that time, we will be able to take our revenge. Chen Shang felt a little lost, but, if the two beauties stayed by his side, it was certainly something to be happy about. Su Meiyao removed a ring from her beautiful hair and threw it towards Chen Shang, saying, "Put a drop of blood on it and it will recognize you as its owner. Using this ring is similar to using a storage pouch, so put my elder sister and I in it, then you can climb back up. You should not stay down here much longer, this place is frequently visited by demon beasts." Dripping blood on it, Chen Shang established a contract with the ring. The space inside the ring was very small, yet, in Chen Zhang's knowledge, legendary storage rings should have a space as vast as a sea. However, one could place living creatures in this storage equipment. This made Chen Shang marvel. Common storage pouches were very rare and are distributed by sects in the Immortal Mountains. While they were rare, they certainly couldn't hold living creatures inside. According to Su Meiyao's words, he placed the two women into the storage ring. As he put it on his finger, the ring became invisible. This made Chen Shang admire it even more. He ate the dan, given by his father, and, with plenty of stamina, he started climbing the cliff, leaving the death chi-filled abyss beneath him. For him, this was a very arduous challenge. Climbing the cliff made Chen Shang even more depressed because he was not able to see anything, due to the black death chi, which also increased the difficulty of the climb. After arduous climbing that lasted for a full day, Chen Shang finally reached the top. Now that he had completed the climb, he realized that it really wasn't all that difficult due to the divine veins. As he was climbing up, he absorbed large amounts of spirit chi which entered his body and eliminated the fatigue, making him as energetic as a dragon and as fierce as a tiger throughout the entire climb. After Chen Shang got his bearings, he embarked on his way back towards Wohu City. Although he was not able to see Bai Yu and Su Meiyao inside the ring, he was still able to sense them. "Sisters, when are you going to teach me those divine and devil exercises?" Chen Shang impatiently asked as he was very curious about those divine and devil exercises. "Your body is too weak at the moment, thus, you will not be able to withstand the devil exercises," Bai Yu transmitted, in an ice-cold voice. Su Meiyao said, "You can practice the divine exercises anytime, but first you should return home. I also plan on teaching you alchemy." Chen Shang, in his heart, was delighted and started to run as fast as he could. In the southern part of the Southern Martial Empire, Wohu City, with a population of 1 million, was quite large and prosperous. It was also the place where the Southern Martial Empire's famous martial arts family, the Chen family, lived. The Chen family had several thousand years of history, and even now, their strength was still quite formidable. With a very rich heritage, they were able to survive for several thousand years, which proved their strength. The Chen family was also very wealthy, and, inside Wohu City, they are the most powerful economic force. The Chen family villa occupies several thousand acres of land, with a countless number of courtyards and numerous gardens. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers, so, even if someone wanted to sneak in, they would get lost. Tianyu Park. Anyone can guess that this mansion belongs to Chen Tianyu. As a Chen family member having a prominent position, owning a huge house is a normal thing for that person. "Dad, I'm back." Chen Shang returned and rushed into the library, as he knows his father is always there. Chen Tianyu laughed and said, "You smelly brat. You finally came back. Did you know that there is a little beauty here, waiting for you? Do you still remember the little girl of the Shui family? Your little wife?" Chen Shang brow wrinkled. In his mind, there was an attractive little girl, with skin like jade, that he played with when he was only 5 or 6 years old. "Father. You mean Shui Shenxian?" Chen Shang asked, remembering the girl of the Shui family. She came and visited the Chen family when she was small. At that time she and Chen Shang had both played for the entire day, both had a very good time and, later, their families arranged for them to be married. Chen Tianyu nodded his head. "Right, that little girl is in the villa, just as you went out to look for herbs, she came, and pleaded me to allow her to see you." Chen Tianyu smiled and looked out of the window as he said this. Chen Shang followed his father's gaze and saw a girl, with skin like jade, walking in the courtyard outside. The girl had long hair, a white full-body robe, and was adorned with shining golden ornaments. Seeing the girl's attire, which was similar to that of a fairy, Chen Shang couldn't help but be dazed by her beauty. That girl was only 14 or 15 years old, yet her skin was white as snow, giving her a beautiful appearance and making people unable to move their gaze from her. When the girl saw Chen Shang through the window, her beautiful face was filled with joy. She charmingly shouted, "Brother Xiao Shang." The sound of her voice was gentle and lively, capable of captivating a person's soul. Chen Shang admits that, although this girl was younger, whether it be temperament or appearance, she could stand shoulder to shoulder with the two beauties inside the ring. Let alone the fact that this girl was not yet fully developed. Chen Shang swallowed saliva and with a dry laugh said, "This truly is the 18 changes of a grown woman. 1. I didn't think that this little girl will turn into a fairy." This girl was the Shui family's beloved daughter of the heavens, Shui Shenxian. "This girl is my fiancé," Chen Shang cried in his heart excitedly. If it was before, Chen Shang would feel his heart constrict, because he didn't possess any spiritual veins. But now, he had the yin and yang divine veins. So long as he was given time, achieving the pinnacle level of martial arts was not just a fantasy anymore. Shui Shenxian lightly smiled, and little dimples emerged on her cheeks along with a charming blush which made Chen Shang absent-minded again. Chen Tianyu laughed and then patted Chen Zhang's shoulder, saying, "You two can catch up." Chen Shang, while laughing, hastily ran out from the library. Coming into the courtyard, Chen Shang, without any pleasantries, grabbed Shui Shenxian's soft beautiful hands, and then quickly led her out of the line of sight of his father, as if they were going to do some bad things in their own small time. Chen Shang, along with the little fairy, came to his own house, making many other Chen family children envious as they went. "Shenxian, how long are you going to stay with the Chen family?" Chen Shang asked, while laughing, and squeezed Shui Shenxian's cute, dimpled face. Shui Shenxian, with a smile, softly said, "Xiao Shang brother, my father and I came to Wohu City to talk to you, so we're not going to stay for very long." During childhood, Shui Shenxian got a strange disease and came to Wohu City for a cure. At that time, Shui Shenxian's body was weak, and looked thin and frail, so, in the Chen and Shui families, she was often bullied. Only Chen Shang took good care of her and played with her. During that time, it made her really happy. He also encouraged her to be strong, so she could fight her illness, and also gave her a few precious stands. These things were engraved in Shui Shenxian's heart and, even when she knew Chen Shang didn't have any spiritual veins and thus no future in martial arts, she still decided to marry Chen Shang. Chen Shang was at somewhat of a loss. He also liked Shui Shenxian very much. When they were children, both families knew Chen Shang did not have spiritual veins, so Chen Shang also didn't have any playmates. Therefore, he and Shui Shenxian were like two peas in a pod. "Brother Xiao Shang, my family told me to dissolve the marriage, but I disagreed, so they made me go see the Yao family and meet their young genius of alchemy." Shui Shenxian saw Chen Zhang's complexion changing, and, with a chuckle, said, "Rest assured, I would rather die than marry that Yao family brat. Also, I have heard that he has a very nasty character." In the whole of the South Martial Empire, Shui Shenxian was considered a genius among geniuses, with her cultivation at the 6th level of the mortal martial realm and being only 14. On the other hand, the Yao family also had a 16-year-old genius, who was able to refine dance. In everyone's eyes, they were the definition of a perfect couple. Chen Shang was very calm. He now had the yin and yang divine veins, and two unidentified, yet formidable, women as his tutors, so he now had the confidence that, in a short amount of time, he could catch up with the Yao family's young alchemist. Chen Shang grinned, touching Shui Shenxian's elegant charming cheeks, and smiled as he said, "Shenxian, you go to Yao family and say you already have a fiancé, and, if he still refuses to accept, then tell him to come and challenge me." Seeing Chen Shang being so confident, made Shui Shenxian very glad. She stood on her toes and kissed Chen Shang on his lips, then, bowing her head, said, "Brother Xiao Shang, you must become stronger. I am worried about my family, as they will not hesitate to break us apart." Shui Shenxian gracefully moved through the courtyard, like a swallow, her movements agile and elegant, but also making Chen Shang become distracted, like a fool. In his mind, the image of Shui Shenxian kissing his lips appeared. Chen Shang licked his lips and, with a smile, said, "That little girl has grown up a lot." Notes. 2. Nu Dashi Babian, literally, the 18 changes of a grown woman. Meaning equals all of the changes that a girl goes through when turning into a woman. Chapter 4. Divine Exercise of 4 Symbols. Chapter 0004. Divine Exercise of 4 Symbols. Little guy, you say your little fairy is attractive. Don't you think the two of us are attractive? In Chen Zhang's mind, a charming voice resounded. This voice belonged to Su Meiyao. Chen Shang coughed twice, and, with a dry laugh, said, "As long as my wife is good-looking, ha." "Of course, you two are certainly beautiful. Oh yeah, Sister Meiyao, hurry up and teach me those divine exercises in alchemy." "You pervert, what are you trying to say?" Su Meiyao spat and said. "Nothing, Chen Shang grinned while scratching his face, a strange look flashing past his eyes. In order to prevent Shui Shenxian from being disappointed, Chen Shang intended to redouble his efforts and cultivate day and night. A faint trace of aura suddenly flashed from the invisible ring on Chen Zhang's finger, as both Bai Yuyu and Su Meiyao appeared in front of him, both wearing noble and elegant purple robes. Chen Shang guessed that these clothes were already present inside the ring. At this time, the afternoon sun was very harsh, but it seemed that the two stunning girls were enjoying that annoyingly bothersome sunlight. The spirit chi around here is really poor. If you do not rely on dance, then it will be very difficult for you to enter the true martial realm. Su Meiyao, looking up at the hot sun, murmured. Chen Shang was somewhat confused at how the two girls were able to enter and exit the ring at will. Additionally, they were also able to hear sounds through the ring. Chen Shang entered the small residence with them. The inside was not very large, there was only one hall and 4 rooms. When compared to the huge Chen family estate, this was indeed considered quite small. In the small hall, Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were sipping the spirit tea prepared by Chen Shang. This was from Chen Zhang's personal collection and he was usually reluctant to drink it. The spirit chi is really thin here. If you want to quickly elevate your strength, you would have to rely on dans. But before this, you must cultivate out the true chi flames 1. Since you have the yin and yang divine veins, this will not be difficult for you. Su Meiyao said. Chen Shang nodded his head, and said, please, Sister Meiyao, give me advice. Come, I will teach you the Tai Chi divine exercise 4 and the divine exercise of 4 symbols. Su Meiyao said in a charming voice, stroking her hair. That gesture was truly fascinating and charming, and even a bit flirtatious. Due to Chen Zhang's nearly infinite potential, Su Meiyao wanted his full attention, so she would have a fierce helper later. Su Meiyao's delicate hand covered Chen Zhang's forehead and Chen Zhang's mind was filled, with many texts and runes revolving around. Each one was obscure and difficult to understand on their own, but, with Su Meiyao's help, he unconsciously mastered them. Su Meiyao said, I'm currently using my divine sense to transfer the steps for cultivation to you. I'm not just passing you the divine exercises but also my understanding of them, you just simply have to follow the steps. Chen Shang was shocked, he did not think Su Meiyao would be able to use divine sense. In order to practice divine sense, one would have to, at least, be at the 6th level of the mortal martial realm. It is condensed by fusing together spiritual power and true force and can be described as a very mysterious invisible and stateless spiritual force. Anything about us must be kept confidential and no one is to know about us, including your little wife. Bai Yuyu said with a serious and cold tone. Su Meiyao continued, I will tell you right now that my senior sister and I have numerous enemies, who could crush you simply by pointing at your head. As such, you have to keep our secrets. Also, we will not come out from the ring unless you are in dire straits. Chen Zhang's heart shuddered, he did not expect that he was harboring such dangerous 2 individuals. He quickly nodded his head before Bai Yuyu and Su Meiyao suddenly disappeared, entering the ring. Tai Chi divine exercise and divine exercise of 4 symbols. Although it was only a small portion of the whole skill, Chen Shang was still extremely excited. After all, he didn't know of anyone who had been given the opportunity to practice divine skills. In the world of martial arts, the skills were divided into the general categories of mortal level, spirit level, profound level, earth level, heavenly level, sacred level and finally divine level. They are further separated into upper and lower grades. Dans are similarly ranked but they also contain a middle grade as well as the lower and upper grades. Heavenly level skills were very rare, and divine level skills were even rarer. Divine exercises are, after all, only practiced by legendary gods who have unfathomably formidable and overwhelming strength. They were said to be able to summon lightning to strike the earth and even change things that could be considered as acting against heaven's will, such as breaking the very fabric of space. The Tai Chi divine exercise was a foundation-building exercise, and was specialized for training the body using Chi cultivation. It is a very profound and powerful martial art hard law too. The divine exercise of 4 symbols was divided into 4 parts, namely Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Turtle divine exercises, and these 4 divine exercises were auxiliary in nature and mainly helped in boosting the attack and defense of other martial skills. After practicing and understanding them, they could also be used to demonstrate formidable martial techniques. Chen Shang arrived at the backyard of his house. Surrounded by lush green trees and breathing in the fresh air, he was able to clearly sense all 5 elements of spirit chi that existed between heaven and earth. Common spiritual veins were divided according to attributes, but Chen Zhang's yin and yang divine veins represents and contains all of the world's 5 elements, so he was able to practice all 5 elements of true qis. The Tai Chi divine exercise, although it was a profound hard law, Su Meiyao had transferred her understanding of it, so he quickly mastered it. He operated the Tai Chi divine exercise, and the Tai Chi yin-yang diagram in his dantian started rotating immediately. This made the spirit qi around him violently surge into his body. The absorption rate of spirit qi for any high-grade spiritual vein was extremely fast, as for a divine vein, the speed was unimaginable. At this time, Chen Shang sat cross-legged at the cave entrance and operated the Tai Chi divine exercise. Spirit qi entered his body, and immediately started purifying him. The spirit qi transformed into a pure white stream, spreading through his body within his bones, muscles, and meridians, making his body sturdier. To become a formidable martial artist, one must purify the body, both internally and externally. Chen Shang was now strengthening his internal body, and his internal body is generating a powerful qi stream containing formidable force. This is known as true qi 3. Chen Shang unconsciously entered into a state of cultivation, with spirit qi madly surging into his body. If somebody saw this scene, they wouldn't believe their eyes. The divine skills of the Azure Dragon and the White Tiger specialized in attacking, while the Vermilion Bird divine skill mainly specialized in fire and the Black Tortoise divine skill specialized in defense. Practicing true qi up to the large success stage would create a form in the dantian, and, as Chen Shang further practices the divine exercise of 4 symbols, he will be able to later create an Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise, the 4 divine beasts, in his dantian. This means that Chen Shang alone must cultivate the same amount as 4 people. Although it would be very laborious, his grasp of power will be far above others at the same level. As he simply started operating the Tai Chi divine exercise, refining spirit qi into polished true qi, a large amount of external spirit qi surged into his body. True qi was flowing inside the large and small meridians of his body, making his meridians much more sturdy. Morning came and pleasant sunlight entered the backyard and warmed Chen Zhang's body. He opened his eyes, which, for a moment, seemed to glow with electricity, and a wind arose around his body, dispersing the white morning mist. His body was covered with a layer of black filth, meaning that he had entered into the 4th level of the mortal martial realm. From the 4th level to the 6th level of the mortal martial realm, it was considered to be the start of a new stage. Now Chen Shang had reached the 4th level, the opening vein stage. This stage had previously been unreachable for him. Chen Shang, again, closed his eyes, attentively watching the Tai Chi yin and yang diagram. Within his dantian, he discovered that there were 5 true qi whirlpools, each separating into 4 directions with a clear core. Ordinary people would only 1 true qi whirlpool, but he currently has 5. One could not even imagine how vivid his true qi was. With this degree of vibrant true qi, his strength was comparable to someone in the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. I've finally entered the 4th level of the mortal martial realm, now Dad doesn't have to beg those old men for herbs. Chen Shang was rejoicing due to his breakthrough. When he thought about Shui Shenxian, who had entered the 6th level of the mortal martial realm at the tender age of 15, he immediately calmed himself down. Thinking about that Yao family's talented young alchemist hitting on his fiancée, Chen Zhang's heart became resolute. He had a desire to cultivate himself more strenuously, before going to the Yao family and challenging that so-called genius alchemy master. Start cultivating the Azure Dragon divine exercise. Su Meiyao said. Since her divine sense was restored to a certain degree, she was able to clearly sense the things going on outside. The divine exercise of 4 symbols, technically speaking, was only one divine exercise, but, in practice, was a comprehensive guide for boxing, palm techniques, kicking techniques, qigong and many others martial arts. After mastering the divine exercise, the prowess displayed is dependent solely on the individual. The Azure Dragon was centered around the true qi of wood and contained both wind and lighting attributes. As such, cultivating the Azure Dragon divine exercise will allow the user to cast martial skills that contain either wind or lightning force. After taking a shower, Chen Shang had a quick meal before coming back to his backyard to cultivate the Azure Dragon divine exercise. The Tai Chi divine exercise and divine exercise of 4 symbols were already integrated into his soul, so no matter how profound and mysterious they were, he was able to understand it. After half a day, Chen Shang was operating the true qi within his body according to the Azure Dragon divine exercise. Soon, he saw his body start to overflow with a soft azure aura. Sometimes lightning would flash within this azure aura and, from time to time, gusts of wind blew out from Chen Zhang's body. Chen Shang had now grasped how to release the power of lighting and wind derived from wood attributed true qi. However, for him, this level was insufficient. He wanted to be able to transform the wood true qi into a fearsome wind and lighting to be used with other martial skills from the Azure Dragon Divine Exercise. Chen Shang made the true qi of wood, inside his body, flow into his meridians. Cycling through his body, again and again, the true qi moved erratically, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Occasionally it was similar to a large river, yet at other times, it flowed gently, like a small mountain stream. Notes. 1. A type of fire made of true qi used for alchemical purposes, add more if needed TL. 2. Here heart law, Shin Fa, can be interpreted as sutra. 3. Qi generated by the internal body. 4. An exercise is basically a cultivation practice which strengthens you. Chapter 5. Challenge edited. 1 month later, as the moon rose into the sky an azure light was flashing on the summit of a mountain. When looked at from afar, it looked like a star had fallen on the mountain's peak. In order to keep others from learning about his newfound strength, Chen Shang used the excuse of gathering herbs to come to this mountain and cultivate. In order to absorb larger amounts of spirit qi, and to gain a better sense of the wind and lightning contained between the heavens and the earth, he came to this mountain summit. At this place, he could see dark clouds begin to rise and feel strong winds blow. Lightning occasionally sparked between the clouds. Suddenly, a thunderbolt fell directly down towards the mountain peak, as if striking to destroy it. This astonishing scene was actually a byproduct of Chen Shang cultivating the Azure Dragon Divine Exercise. The fierce howling gale and the thunderous lightning in the sky were both caused by his cultivation. The moment the lightning bolt struck his body, not only did he start refining his body through its tyrannical force, but, from time to time, he was also absorbing its energy into his body. This action of his could be described as suicidal. Everyone knows that lightning is one of the most destructive forces of nature. Even true martial realm experts would not dare to face it, yet Chen Shang was cultivating using the Azure Dragon Divine Exercise and actually wanted to use that natural lightning to assist his cultivation. This bizarre scene lasted until midnight. Chen Zhang's face, which had been distorted due to the pain, was now slowly returning to normal. His clothes were torn in multiple places, and he had numerous black scars all over his body, with smoke emitting from the crevices. Yet above all those scars, a bright azure light was shining. This azure light had a strong wood attribute aura, which aided his body in recovering from the injuries incurred by the lightning. As long as I become strong, this pain is nothing, said Chen Shang, clenching his fist and shouting in his heart as he endured the pain from one lightning bolt striking his body after another. Letting the heavens temper his body with powerful strikes of lightning. This method truly deserves to be called a divine exercise. Not only does it affect the world around the user, but it also tempers the user's body with lightning strikes, making it stronger. Several days went past. During this time Chen Shang had been repeatedly struck by lightning. Now, he had finally completed his basic body tempering. As Chen Shang opened his eyes, 2 lightning bolts could be seen flashing within his eyes firm and resolute. It really was an astonishing sight. It is definitely worthy of being called a divine exercise. Mortal martial exercises aren't even worth farts in comparison to this. In just 1 month, it has enabled me to reach the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. At this time, Chen Shang inspected the 5 true qi whirlpools spinning within his dantian. Comparing them to how they had been before, they had already grown much larger. Chen Shang could now control true qi as he desired. This was the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, the true qi realm. He was 16 years old and has already reached the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. Many would consider him a genius for this accomplishment. A crimson-colored true qi resided on one of Chen Zhang's palms, the other held an azure-colored true qi. Hand in hand, fire and wood true qi were cultivated through the Azure Dragon and Vermilion Bird Divine Exercise. Chen Shang felt as if he had shed his former skin and been reborn. Both his true qi and his body were now incomparable to their former states. Then again, his body had been tempered and his true qi had been cultivated through a divine exercise. Chen Shang could finally understand why divine exercises were considered to be priceless. Truly, by cultivating these exercises people could gain godlike strength. The spirit qi around here is thin. If you want your cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds, then you can only rely on dance. Now that you can release true qi flames, you can finally begin to learn alchemy. Su Meiyao transmitted to him. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu both longed for Chen Shang to become strong as soon as possible. The quicker he got stronger, the sooner they could recover their strength. The sisters felt fear and helplessness at the loss of their former power. Well, if it isn't the Chen family's great young master. The Yao family's genius alchemist has challenged you. He wants to compete with you in both alchemy and martial arts. Chen Shang had just entered the Chen family gate, when an arrogant teenager walked up and started talking to him. A challenge? When did this happen? Chen Shang was a little surprised. He had only been away for a few days. That teenager started laughing at him, his voice full of disdain. So you haven't even heard? We all thought you were afraid and went into hiding. This all happened 10 days ago, because the Yao family's genius fancies your fiancé. You truly do have bad luck. Chen Shang was barely enduring his impulse to beat this prick up. With a discerning fake smile, he replied, Chen Junhua, do you remember that time, when we were younger, and I made you fall on your face into dogshit? Are you sure you still wanna talk back to me right now? The little prick was Chen Junhua, whose father was a commander of one of the Chen family's branches. There were a lot of Chen family branches located across the southern martial empire. The commanders of said families were also very strong, and only gathered at the Chen family villa for important matters. Chen Junhua's expression twisted in anger, but he had to bear it. His voice filled with ridicule, he snapped, of course I do. Let's see if you can defeat the Yao family's genius. I can't wait to witness your face when you lose your stunning fiancé. Chen Junhua departed, laughing. Chen Zhang snorted, before walking away to find his father. On his way there, he overheard that the Chen family had encountered some sort of an issue. As such, all the branch commanders had been summoned. Tianyu Park, inside the library. Chen Shang ran up to his father and asked, Dad, is it true that grandfather has withdrawn from the patriarch's position? Chen Tianyu, while looking dignified, nodded and said, it's true. Your grandfather has gone into seclusion, wanting to join a martial arts sect. The Chen family's branch commanders are all coming here to compete for his position. A Chen family patriarch giving up his position meant that a new patriarch had to be elected. At that time many things are bound to occur, because many battles will take place, getting injured was also inevitable. Becoming a martial arts family's patriarch, one can have high authority, alongside rich resources and, because of this, many people are desperate to get the position, even at risk of their life. Chen Zhang's father would also compete for the patriarch's position, and, this time, Chen Shang will certainly be involved. If he does not have enough strength, it will definitely be quite dangerous for him. Chen family patriarch position had never been inherited. It relied on a competition to elect the patriarch. After all, in this world strength was revered, and only with a show of strength would others be willing to follow you. So, for the Chen family patriarch position, others can only be convinced with strength. Chen Shang saw that Chen Tianyu's complexion was very dignified, so he carefully asked, Dad, will this be difficult for you? Chen Tianyu, with a sigh, said, it is, indeed, going to be very difficult, as there are many who are competing with me for the patriarch position, including those two brothers with whom I have some scruples. No need to say this, but the Yao family genius also issued you a challenge, it would be best to reject him. Reject. After learning about this, so-called, challenge, Chen Shang did not intend to refuse. He was now a stage 5 mortal martial realm martial artist, and also cultivated using divine exercises. Because he cultivates using Tai Chi divine exercises, he could restrain his Chi aura, and thus, Chen Tianyu was unable to find out that his son had advanced by leaps and bounds. Dad, I will not allow the Shui family and the Yao family to look down upon me. I must accept this challenge. Chen Zhang's gaze was firm, his eyes were filled with the intention of war, and from his body emerged an immense amount of polished true Qi, which made Chen Tianyu's pupils contract, as surprise filled his heart. He could see that his son had advanced at an unbelievable rate. Chen Tianyu could only think that his son had come across a fortuitous event while out adventuring, but he refrained from asking. His son was strong, and that was enough for him. Chen Tianyu patted Chen Zhang's shoulders and, with a laugh, said, your dad will support you. You must make the Yao family genius know that there is something beyond the sky. Chen Shang, with a hollow laugh, said, Dad, can you support me with some money? Although Chen Shang's father lived a rather luxurious life, he himself was quite poor, as his father was worried that he would turn into a playboy. So his father only allowed him to live a simple life, which led to a dignified elder's grandson looking very plain in comparison to other Chen family members his age. Chen Tianyu was a man who preferred not to waste money, but in order to elevate his strength, and also help Chen Shang, he has spent a lot. So he has not allowed Chen Shang to spend money randomly. What for? I want to buy a spirit herb to plant and grow. Chen Shang whispered, while rotating his eyes. Planting spirit herbs not only requires experience, but also meticulous care. Ordinarily those who plant herb are alchemists, generally old men with white hair. One teenager planting spirit herbs with no experience is unusual, as it also requires one to have much patience, as a good spirit herb requires many years to mature. For Chen Tianyu, it would also be his first time seeing a teenager plant spirit herbs, but, seeing the confidence in Chen Zhang's eyes, he sighed and pulled out a storage pouch. If I come to know you are lying to me, I'll kick your ass to the point that sitting on a stool will be a nightmare for you for at least a month. Are we clear? Chen Tianyu smiles as he made the terrifying comment, which made Chen Shang tremble. Here is 3,000 large spirit coins. If you don't have the confidence to double the amount, then, in the future, do not ask me for money again. Chen Tianyu took out one specially manufactured spirit note. Chen Shang took it and, with a smile, said, "Rest assured, I will become Chen family's youngest alchemist." Chen Tianyu was shocked. He knew that Chen Shang did not have a spiritual vein, thus alchemy would be impossible for him, but in his heart he is also secretly happy. If what he said becomes true, then it will make Chen family even more formidable. He knows that the Chen family has not had an alchemist for many years. Chen Tianyu laughed, "Quickly get out of here, don't even think about trying to trick me, or you will get a beating. I will go give the Yao family your response." Chen Shang took the 3,000 large spirit coins and quickly left. Chapter 6. True Qi Flame. Chen Shang cultivated with the Azure Dragon Divine Exercise, which was a wood-attributed exercise. Azure Dragon True Qi contained a massive amount of elemental life force and, thus, was very helpful for growing spirit herbs. There was even a particular exercise called the Dragon Saliva Exercise, which provided assistance in planting and growing herbs. Upon casting the Dragon Saliva Exercise, a mystical liquid would be created from his Azure Dragon True Qi, which, when applied to spirit herbs, accelerated their growth. Practicing the Vermilion Bird Divine Exercises could allow one to create and release a flame. This flame was essential in alchemy. The divine exercise of 4 symbols was a very multifaceted exercise, and there were many fierce exercises in it, but, because Chen Zhang's strength was not high enough, he could not practice most of them. At the moment, Chen Shang has 3,000 large spirit coins, equivalent to 300,000 small spirit coins, but it is still not enough for him to buy a middle-grade mortal level, baptizing marrow Dan. Due to their price, ordinary martial artists cannot normally afford to buy dans, as even the cheapest of them are very expensive. TLN. I prefer using Dan instead of Dan, I will use Dan instead of using Dan. For e.g., I'll use baptizing marrow Dan, as opposed to using baptizing marrow pill. In the entirety of Wohu City, there is only one place that specializes in selling dans, and that is the Spirit Dan Hall. It was a 4-story building and, although not very large, the things sold inside were rather expensive. Moreover, 16.5 acres behind the Spirit Dan Hall was a big manor where they grew spirit herbs. Although the Spirit Dan Hall was not associated with any clans, it was not weak as they had many experts inside. One can even find alchemy masters inside the Spirit Dan Halls, who were highly respected for their work. After all, dans were very rare and their benefits were great, allowing martial artists to increase their strength. As Chen Shang walked inside the Spirit Dan Hall, he smelled a herbal aroma wafting through the hall, creating a soothing sensation in all who breathed it in. There were many counters, each counter selling different kinds of dans and herbs. Before coming here, Su Meiyao told Chen Shang to start practicing with low-rank dans, thus, he intended to refine the mortal level low-grade dan, quenching body dan. It was cheap and easy to sell, one dan can sell for around 700 spirit coins, and anyone below the 4th level of the mortal martial realm can get a significant boost from consuming one. Young master, spirit dans are sold there, this stand is specialized in selling spirit herbs. The speaker was a beautiful girl standing behind the counter. There were not many people inside the Spirit Dan Hall, so Chen Shang was very conspicuous, but, even if she saw Chen Shang wearing a shabby outfit, she didn't underestimate him, because she knew that hidden experts sometimes came to the Spirit Dan Hall. Ah, yes, I would like to buy seedlings of the spirit herbs required for refining the quenching body dan. Do you sell them here? Chen Shang asked as he walked over to the beautiful girl. Very few people came to buy seedlings, as few have the ability to grow them. Those who were able to grow them were generally affiliated with big forces and are responsible for handling herb gardens. Furthermore, they are generally quite proficient in alchemy. They are treated as treasures by those forces and are rarely allowed to come out for a walk. That girl was slightly surprised but still spoke with a sweet smile. Of course, to refine the quenching body dan, you will need 4 herbs. The prices are the same for all seedlings. They are quite cheap, only 100 large spirit coins for each seedling. The herbs needed for quenching body dan are the azure spirit grass, blood element flower, profound bright flower, and the spirit leaf grass. Chen Shang thought for a moment, then said, "Give me 5 of each." 400 spirit coins for one set makes it 2,000 for 5. Chen Tianyu only gave him 3,000 large spirit coins. Now more than half his fortune is gone. It seems that even the most basic of dans were too expensive to be consumed by ordinary martial artists. The girl was surprised, as she didn't know of anyone his age in Wohu City that could practice alchemy techniques and grow herbs. "I'll go fetch it for you, so please wait for a moment." The girl did not think that Chen Shang was messing around with her because people who messed around with the spirit Dan Hall generally ended up regretting it. "Well, what do we have here?" A handsome teenager, wearing a magnificent and expensive white robe and holding a fan, was coming down the stairs and looking at Chen Shang with disdain. The upper floors of the Spirit Dan Hall sold higher-ranked dans, and people that can go up are all distinguished guests. "Are your eyes behind your back? Shut your fucking mouth. Why is it that every time you open your mouth, bullshit comes out?" Chen Shang, curling his lips, replied. That teenager is Chen Junhua and he and Chen Shang are of similar age. He is also extremely intelligent. At a young age, he managed to enter the 4th level of the mortal martial realm and is now just a step away from 5th level. Chen Junhua's face turned green. "Chen Shang, I admit that you were very formidable when we were younger, but you do not have a spiritual vein, so now I could beat you with a hand tied behind my back." Chen Shang, being at the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, could only laugh at these words. No matter how strong someone at the 4th level is, they were definitely not his match. "This is Chen Shang, the current Chen family patriarch's grandson. I heard that he doesn't have a spiritual vein and is forever stuck at the 3rd level of the mortal martial realm. It seems he is here for some dance." A beautiful girl walked out from behind Chen Junhua and gave Chen Shang a disdainful look. Chen Shang recognized this girl. She was the daughter of the governor of Wohu City. It seems that birds of the same feather really do flock together. I did not expect the governor's daughter to be so superficial, being willing to be seen with such a fellow. Chen Shang said, then no longer paid them any attention, though he suffered and was humiliated by them. Now he was much stronger than them, had worked diligently to obtain strength. Therefore, his mind was much more mature than the two in front of him. Seeing that Chen Shang was no longer paying any attention to them, Chen Junhua the girl became angry. Chen Junhua wanted to show off in front of the governor's daughter, so he walked towards Chen Shang. "Young master, here are you spirit herb seedlings you requested." The girl returned with his order, pulling seedlings out from a storage pouch. Chen Junhua was surprised that Chen Shang was here to buy seedlings. This was a surprise for Chen Junhua, but he laughed scornfully and said, "Chen Shang, you do not even have a spiritual vein. Are you really thinking of planting spirit herbs? Don't tell me you want to become an alchemy master. This is hilarious." Because there were not many people in the Spirit Dan Hall, it's usually very quiet inside. Thus, when everyone heard someone loudly speak about someone not having a spiritual vein and wanting to become an alchemy master, they could not help but stop and stare. Chen Shang was well known in the city. After all, his grandfather was the Chen family patriarch, his father was a well-known figure, and he did not have a spiritual vein. Most people, when talking about the Chen family patriarch and Chen Tianyu, always ended up sighing. Chen Shang silently paid the money and received the spirit herb seedlings. He chose to ignore everyone's gazes. Just as he was about to leave, Chen Junhua, with a sneer, said, "A waste of a person, wasting so many spirit herbs." Chen Zhang's brow wrinkled. When Chen Junhua said he did not have a spiritual vein, he chose to ignore it. He had been ridiculed before, but he could not tolerate being called a waste. When everyone saw the Chen family children fighting, they were happy inside their hearts, because they knew it would be an interesting show to watch. Chen Shang turned around and looked at the arrogant Chen Junhua. Suddenly a palm-shaped flame surged out from his palm, making many people begin to feel like they were in a sauna. Inside the Spirit Dan Hall, there are many people who had excellent insight, so they were well aware that this flame was not a normal flame, but actually an alchemical flame. "Chen Junhua, I dare you to try to face this true chi flame, made by a waste." Chen Shang spoke with a dark and emotionless tone. Only those with special talent and rare cultivation exercises can create true chi flames. They have to be born with this type of talent and were able to understand the minute changes inside the true chi flames. Because Chen Junhua was very close to Chen Shang, his whole body was covered in sweat. The beautiful girl behind the counter was also in the same state, making her thin clothes become soaked with fragrant perspiration, making her seductive curves stand out. This fierce flame made everyone in the spirit Dan hall stand still, dumb as wooden chickens. TLN. Dumb as a wooden rooster. It comes from a Chinese story. For the story you can visit here, basically petrified. Chapter 7. Dragon Saliva Exercise. This is. Wait, stop. Don't burn down my spirit Dan hall. An old man started shouting. It seemed that he appeared out of thin air. The flame in Chen Zhang's hands started to dissipate. The people in the spirit Dan hall slowly recovered from their shock. They could all feel the fury that had been contained within Chen Zhang's flame. Chen Junhua, don't tell me you afraid of the flames made by a waste. Then what does it make you? An even bigger waste. Chen Shang spoke, openly sneering. Chen Junhua's complexion became extremely ugly. No one in their right mind would try to take on those flames. The mouth of the governor's daughter was wide open in shock. She looked at Chen Shang in surprise. She could feel the power behind those flames. She lowered her head because she had been treating him like dog shit on the side of the road. Who knows why Chen Shang decided to hide his strength instead of showing it off, like anyone else that was his age would do. Hall Master. This brat, one middle-aged fellow, wearing a short white robe, came out from behind Chen Shang. That old man just kept on staring at Chen Shang, his face contorted in a look of disbelief, shock, and joy, all at the same time. This old man was the spirit Dan hall's master. He is a very famous alchemist and had a history of scruples with Chen Zhang's grandfather. Little brother, do you want to become my apprentice? The old man asked, which made all the people within Spirit Dan hall gasp. The hall master was even willing to take him as an apprentice. Everybody knew that many aristocratic families had wanted their children to be taken on as his apprentice. But even if their parents personally came to ask the Spirit Dan hall's master, they would be rejected without even a second look. Everyone froze in place. Chen Zhang's potential shocked every single one of them. Having no spiritual vein, but still being able to release a true chi flame and, not to mention the fact that, the Spirit Dan hall's master had seen that Chen Shang is a good seed. Chen Shang scratched his head and spoke dismissively, although I would like to, you and my grandfather are enemies, so I cannot take you as my teacher. Then, Chen Shang turned away casually, without the slightest expression of regret or sorrow. No one could believe that Chen Shang had actually refused. They suspected that he might have misunderstood what the Spirit Dan hall's master said. Only after hearing the sound of the Spirit Dan hall's master sighing did they believe that there are some people who would actually refuse to become a Spirit Dan hall's master's apprentice. Everyone agreed that Chen Shang was a fool. Because of a private grudge between his grandfather and the Spirit Dan hall's master, he gave up such a good opportunity. Chen Junhua's heart was filled with jealousy. A moment ago, he had ruthlessly humiliated Chen Shang, and everyone's gaze had been fixated on Chen Shang, their gazes filled with disdain. But now many people looked at him with contemptuous expressions. In the eyes of these people, a genius alchemist was much more formidable than any other type of genius. He was able to refine dans. Furthermore, even though he was lacking a spiritual vein, he was able to become a fierce martial artist. Of course, not only did Chen Shang have divine veins, he could also become an alchemist. He could now plant herbs and release true chi flames. These were the two conditions he needed to start refining dans. Although alchemy needed certain experience and higher understanding, he is sure that he will able to successfully refine those dans. Chen Shang already knew that Spirit Dan hall's master was his grandfather's rival. Moreover, his grandfather had been very good to him. From time to time, his grandfather would give him some dans, which ultimately allowed him to reach the third level of the mortal martial realm. After returning to the Chen family residence, Chen Shang found his father and told him about what had happened at the Spirit Dan hall. Well done, that old man of the Spirit Dan hall treats our Chen family poorly. He sells those dans to us at exorbitant prices. Since you have a true chi flame, it will not be difficult for you to become an alchemist. From now on, I'll fully support you. Chen Tianyu, in his heart, was very excited. Now that his son can release true chi flames, it can be said he will have a promising future, even better than martial artists with high-grade spiritual veins. Chen Shang retired to his own small courtyard and started planting those spirit herb seedlings. In the evening, he sat cross-legged on his bed, sensing the rich spirit chi of heaven and earth. He started then using the Tai Chi divine exercise along with the dragon saliva exercise and quickly absorbed the spirit chi. After using the dragon saliva exercise, it will leave behind a special essence on his tongue. As long as he uses this essence to water those spirit herbs, the time it will take them to mature will significantly decrease. In the morning, Chen Shang stretched out his tongue and found an azure-colored dewdrop. This drop was dragon saliva. Seeing this, Chen Shang started rejoicing. He did not expect to be successful in making the dragon saliva. On his first try, he quickly put that azure dewdrop into a bucket full of water. The bucket started exhibiting a light azure aura. Using the bucket of glowing water, Chen Shang started carefully watering the seedlings. Azure spirit grass, blood element grass, profound bright flower, and spirit leaf grass. These 4 spirit herbs were only low-grade mortal herbs, but it normally took them 3 years to mature. However, after Chen Shang used the dragon saliva to accelerate their growth, it only took a month for them to fully mature. The azure-colored grass, which is the one exhibiting a fierce spirit chi, is the azure spirit grass. The one which is as red as blood and the size of a fist was the blood element flower. The one which is white as snow and emitted a bright aura was the profound bright flower. The one that looked like leaf-bladed grass was the spirit leaf grass. Chen Tianyu looked around the small courtyard with surprise. While staring at the spirit herbs, he clearly remembered that a month ago they were nothing more than seedlings. Son, about this ability of yours, refrain from showing it to others, no matter what. Only you and I will ever know about this. Just as one should not boast about his treasures in public, you should not let anyone else know about this ability of yours. Chen Tianyu spoke with a serious face and did not inquire about how his son got this ability. Chen Shang nodded his head. This courtyard was in Chen Tianyu's domain, so nobody would dare to come in here without his permission and, therefore, Chen Shang was not worried about people discovering this. Alchemy is not simple, although you have the ability to become an alchemist. Self-teaching is a hard thing to do, especially with alchemy. You should try to build your foundation first. Even if you take a wrong step, we can go and look for an alchemist when needed. Chen Tianyu said this, then removed a bucket-sized alchemical furnace from his storage pouch. TLN. Alchemy furnace looks something like this. Chen Tianyu said, although this alchemical furnace is not that good, it is the best one which I can afford. Wait for me to ask the elders for some money, and we will buy a better one later. For alchemy, an alchemical furnace was one of the most essential things, second only to the herbs. Chen Shang was quite satisfied with the black furnace. Laughing and nodding his head, he said, "Thank you, Dad. You will be the first to taste my refined dance." Chen Tianyu walked out laughing. During this month, except for looking after the seedlings, Chen Shang spent most of his time asking Su Meiyao about the main points of alchemy. That seductive girl explained all the difficulties of alchemy carefully, making sure Chen Shang knew what he was getting into. As Chen Shang learned about alchemy, he encountered many issues. For example, controlling the flames, pouring the true qi continuously, and solidifying the dan, which required a very accurate control and application of spiritual power. Sister Meiyao, at what time should I start the preparation to refine these dans? Chen Shang used spirit power to exchange words with Su Meiyao, inside the ring, while picking the matured herbs. Only after some processing would they be qualified to be used for alchemy. The steps of processing required certain skills, but for Chen Shang, those didn't actually matter, because Su Meiyao has already taught him those things. Su Meiyao with a sweet voice said, "The soonest you will be able to begin is, around, a year and a half." What, I only have 1 more month before the competition with that Yao family genius. Chen replied, shocked. Bai Yu spoke coldly, what an idiot. Why do you want to compete with him in alchemy? With your strength, you can easily slaughter him. The corner of Chen Zhang's mouth twitched slightly. If he slaughtered the Yao family genius, then the Yao family and the Chen family will certainly go to war, requiring his father, or even the family elders, to step in. It would be very troublesome. He starts to process the spirit herbs, and then place them inside the furnace. After this, each and every step must be performed extremely precisely. The basic steps of alchemy include pouring the true qi inside the alchemical furnace, baking the spirit herbs, waiting for the spirit herbs to start emitting unique spirit qis, controlling those various spirit qis and mixing them with dried up spirit herbs, gathering them together in one place, and then congealing them into a dan. Chen Shang placed both his hands on the 2 separate mouths of the furnace and then poured his flames inside it, while, at the same time, inspecting the internal situation of the furnace with his spiritual power. Chapter 8. Successful Pill Refinement. The flame was poured into the alchemical furnace, backing the spirit herbs inside and drying them out. There was some residue spirit qi left inside the dried spirit herbs, so his first attempt ended in failure. Nevertheless, Chen Shang was not discouraged by this, because he had learned a few things. He learned how formidable his flames were, and that he needed to increase his control over said flames. Chen Shang picked up the next set of herbs. This time, he made sure to pay special attention to his control, in order to manipulate the flames correctly. He carefully baked the spirit herbs inside the furnace, but it, once again, resulted in a failure. After experiencing failure 3 times in a row, Chen Shang had started to build up some experience. His knowledge, regarding the control of flame, had increased during each previous attempt. On the 4th try, Chen Shang was finally successful in extracting out all the spirit qi. Now he could enter the next phase of alchemy. While injecting his spiritual power into the alchemical furnace, he took a peek inside. Chen Shang saw the various colors of different spirit qi being emitted by the spirit herbs. Now he started to manipulate these spirit qi, rotating them to form a rainbow whirlpool. The already dried spirit herbs slowly disintegrated into gray ash. After they had completely transformed, Chen Shang manipulated the spirit qi emitted from these spirit herbs and combined it with the herbal powder. Chen Shang was now in the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. He had a good amount of spiritual power, yet he was already nearing his limit. This was mainly because he divided the rainbow whirlpool of herbal spirit qi into 5 mini whirlpools while trying to fuse those with 5 equal portions of herbal powder at the same time. He was trying to refine 5 dans at once. While forming the 5 whirlpools, Chen Zhang's brows started to wrinkle, and he was sweating profusely from his forehead. Not only did he need to use true qi to form his flames, but he also had to control the formed flames while, at the same time, also trying to congeal the dans, which forced him to consume vast amounts of spiritual power. This had better be successful. Chen Shang shouted in his heart. The 5 herbal spirit qi whirlpools were revolving rapidly and even began the process of fusing together. He now only needed to drop in the right amount of water and let the 2 successfully congeal into 5 dans. Chen Shang was continuously sweating from his forehead and looked very tired. But he still continued to release the true qi flames and spiritual power. He had used up almost all of his true qi. I finally succeeded, plus I ended up spending all day to refine these 5 dans. Alchemy really needs a lot of time. Chen Shang said with a sigh. Chen Shang opened the alchemical furnace, looking at the 5 snow-white, quenching body dans within the dissipating mist, and he could not help but grin. He had eaten a quenching body dan before, but the quality of those dans was not even close to these. If those old alchemists came to know about him successful refining the quenching body dan in a day, they would certainly die with shame. Many alchemists took 3 to 5 years to successfully refine a dan for the first time. Even the most talented alchemists would still need a year and a half, and moreover, they were only able to refine 1 dan at a time. But Chen Shang in his first attempt successfully refined 5 dans, so if those old alchemists found out, then they would probably die from the shock of it. Not to mention those old alchemists, even the sisters, Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu, were scared by Chen Zhang's inherent talent in alchemy. They inspected the dans with their own delicate hands, and their facial expression became filled with shock. Ha ha, Sister Meiyao, before you said I would have to wait for a year and a half to actually successful refine a dan, but I successful refined them in a single day. Now you can give me a reward. Chen Shang started laughing proudly. Su Meiyao was also very happy, with a charming voice asked, then, young Master Chen, how can his sisters reward you? Chen Shang, with both hands hugging his chest, smiled and said, how about a kiss? On the cheek, of course. Dream on, brat, Bai Yuyu coldly said, then returned inside the ring. Su Meiyao, while trying to contain her laughter, arrived near Chen Shang and gave him a kiss on his cheek with her soft lips. My dear brother, you have only succeeded through hard work, you should not be too proud. Chen Shang was only kidding and did not expect this beautiful girl to actually give him a kiss. Su Meiyao watched the stupefied Chen Shang and laughed while covering her mouth, then returned to the ring. Chen Shang took a deep breath while smelling the residual fragrance left by her. Calming his heartbeat down, he whispered, she really is a dangerous woman. I, unexpectedly, got caught up in her pace and was charmed. He touched the invisible ring on his hand as if caressing a lover's face. In order to allow the fairies inside his ring to restore their strength as soon as possible, he motivated himself. A quenching body dan is sold for 700 spirit coins, and Chen Shang refined 5 dans, so he can sell them for 3,500 spirit coins. He earned big time, and not to mention that he still has a set of herbs left to refine, so if he succeeded again, then another profit of 3,500 spirit coins could be made. Chen Shang read in a book some time ago that you can refine up to 5 quenching body dan from 1 set of herbs. So his target had always been to refine 5 dans in one go, but he did not know that refining 5 dans at once can only be possible in a situation when the herbs are used to their utmost efficiency. Only high-level alchemists with better understandings can solidify dans in that way, and the timing was also most important. To control spiritual power and flames at a micro level, one must take notice of the subtle changes taking place inside the alchemical furnace, or, otherwise, they will fall short. The quenching body dan provides great help when refining the body. But they are limited to martial artists at the 3rd level, or lower, of the mortal martial realm, and as Chen Shang was now at the 5th level of mortal martial realm, the quenching body dan would not be of much help, but it could still help him in restoring his true qi quickly. Chen Shang ate 1 dan, and more than half of the true qi within his body was restored. He decided to take the remaining 4 dans to Chen Tianyu for tasting. The flavor is good, but I just ate 700 spirit coins. Chen Shang with some sorrow went to his father's library. It was already late night, but Chen Tianyu was not sleeping. Still thinking about some things regarding the martial arts in the library, this was a habit of his. Shang what problem have you encountered for you to come find me at such a late hour? Chen Tianyu smelled the fragrance of herbs coming from Chen Shang's body and immediately frowned. Chen Shang with a grin said, I want father to taste the very first dan which I have refined. What? Chen Tianyu fiercely stood up with his eyes wide open and his face filled with disbelief. He originally thought it would take Chen Shang 8 to 10 years before he can successfully refine some dans, but did not expect that it just take him a day. A single F*** king day. Chen Shang gave Chen Tianyu 4 snow white, quenching body dans. Chen Tianyu's mouth stayed open with shock while looking at the 4 snow white dans with disbelief. Still hot. Chen Tianyu's mind went blank from shock because he did not believe his son would actually comprehend alchemy in a single day. Is he a genius that was born once in 1,000 years? These type of geniuses, although are respected by various forces, but they are also envied by many, and if there were people who wanted to recruit them, then there obviously will be people who will want to assassinate them. Chen Tianyu took a deep breath, calming down his heart which was filled with excitement and said, the quality is much better when compared to the spirit dan hall, so it'll at least be sold for 800 spirit coins. I will take these 4 dans and help you in selling them and buying some spirit herb seedlings. Quote. For Chen Shang able to accelerate the growth of spirit herbs, and then refine them into dans in a matter of few days, Chen Tianyu knew that his son will become a grandmaster level alchemist in the not so distant future. You cannot rush these things, first thoroughly refine mortal level low-grade dans, and when you get the hang of it, then move on to the higher level ones. Chen Shang nodded his head, and he returned to his courtyard to rest, waiting till his spiritual power is restored, then he once again started refining the last set of herbs. The next day, Chen Shang woke up early, thinking about refining the quenching body dan. He was somewhat excited, and after successfully refining it once, this time, it was just simply following the previous steps. He arrived at the last stage of congealing the dans with ease. Within the alchemical furnace, there were 5 groups of herbal powder and herbal spirit qi, fusing them together into a sludge. Chen Shang was relaxed this time, not like the previous attempt, where he consumed most of his true qi and spiritual power. Successful. Chen Shang sighed with relief, opening the lid of the furnace, and he saw 5 feet quenching body dans. It only took him 2 hours to refine the dans this time around. In the following days, Chen Shang accelerated the growth of many spirit herbs then refined them into dans. Not only was he refining, quenching body dan, but he also refined many other low-grade mortal level dans that have many practical uses, such as restoring qi dan, golden healing essence, dispelling poison dan, congealing qi dan, and others. Although at the beginning, each time he would have some failures, but as he got familiar with the nature of the spirit herbs and got better in controlling his flames, while also getting several tips, he naturally got better at refining dans. Su Meiyao, this mysterious girl's alchemy technique was very brilliant, and previously he didn't believe this stunning charming girl even knew alchemy, because in his knowledge, alchemists were either bald or white-haired old men. Chen Shang did not get tired these past few days and practicing alchemy didn't even affect his qi practice. He was also practicing the dragon saliva exercise in the evenings to create azure dewdrops, which were able to accelerate the growth of spirit herbs. Once again, a month went by, and in this month, Chen Shang became skilled in refining low-grade mortal level dans. Editor note: remember, dans are pills. Chapter 9, Patriarch Selection Meeting. Chapter 9, Patriarch Selection Meeting. Today, Chen Shang did not go to accelerate the growth of the spirit herbs. Early in the morning, he instead went to a huge field located in the middle of the Chen family villa, because today was the day to finalize the position of the new patriarch. The Chen family patriarch position had been empty for 3 months, causing the Chen family to be somewhat chaotic. The huge field of the Chen family villa was covered with bricks, and many important children of the whole Chen family were standing there, which roughly amounted to 300 of the Chen family's elite juniors. Everyone from Chen family encircled the field, and a large area in the middle was left empty, where 5 middle-aged men stood, of which one was Chen Tianyu. Chen Shang was also present among the crowds, watching everything with joy, and was ready to jump in any time to help his father compete for the patriarch position. One middle-aged man with thick eyebrow, big eyes, gray hair, said while sneering, "Chen Tianyu, you know we have one very important condition for the Chen family patriarch position." The middle-aged fellow's name was Chen Haohai, and he was a branch commander of the Chen family. He was also older than Chen Tianyu and was at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. This branch of the Chen family was also quite strong, so he thought he had the qualifications to become the Chen family patriarch. In seniority, Chen Shang needed to call him uncle. Chen Tianyu's eyes, which were filled with rage, stared at Chen Haohai and he coldly said, "Of course I know, relatives of the patriarch should have good potential, in order to avoid misappropriation of public resources to waste on their family members." Chen Zhang's mother had already passed away, and since Chen Shang was sensible he never asked about how she passed away, so Chen Tianyu was the only close relative of Chen Shang. But your son doesn't have any spiritual veins, so if you get the patriarch position, you will certainly spend lot of valuable pills on him. Everybody knows all these years you have purchased many spirit herbs and pills and used it on him. Are you not going to help your son again? Chen Haohai while laughing said, "Everyone knows he is a waste who can never advance." Chen Tianyu naturally knew that his son was a genius among his peers, but he just wanted to hide his strength and not expose it, otherwise it would lead to trouble. "My son can release true qi fire. He has the potential to become alchemist, who says he is useless?" The Chen family elders will probably have other opinions, Chen Tianyu said while sneering. At this time everyone started discussing. Chen Shang refusing the offer to become Spirit Dan Hall's master's apprentice was already spread all over in Wohu City. Although Chen Shang did not have a spiritual vein, but he can still release true qi flame, so he has the opportunity to become an alchemist. Chen Haohai snorted and said in a cold manner, but he refused to become Spirit Dan Hall's master's apprentice. He doesn't even have a teacher, so he will have a hard time becoming an alchemist. At this point, Chen Shang's calm and steady voice was heard by everybody. "I am now able to refine the low-grade mortal level, quenching body Dan." Hearing Chen Shang's words, everyone stared blankly, and Chen Haohai started laughing. "Huangko Xiao'er, you're only 16 years old and can already refine a pill. Do not think lying will provide any help to your father in competing for the position of the patriarch. Also, lying before an elder can lead to you having some severe punishments." TLN. Huangko Xiao'er is a Chinese proverb. I couldn't find any similar proverb in English. It is used to ridicule someone younger of age. If you can think of something, please comment. You think you're the Yao family genius? People of the Yao family belong to one of the pill-making aristocratic families. They have vigorous heritage. Chen Shang walked from inside the crowd, and with a steady gaze and calm complexion, he put forward an alchemy furnace, looked at the sneering Chen Haohai, and said, "Do you dare to bet with me? I can refine the quenching body Dan in one try. If I succeed, how about you kowtow to apologize to me in front of everyone?" Chen Haohai started laughing again, and everyone else became stunned. They did not even think that Chen Shang could be this presumptuous in front of an elder. Chen Haohai became angry because of Chen Zhang's attitude. Not only was Chen Shang much younger than him, and he was also defying him in front of everybody. Chen Tianyu fully supported his son's actions, and at this moment he felt proud with his son's response. Chen Haohai's face was full of anger, and he heavily said, "What did you say?" In between conversation, true qi rushed toward Chen Shang, but it was actually dispersed by Chen Tianyu. Chen Zhang's both eyes stared at Chen Haohai, and enhancing his sound he said, "I want you to bet with me if I could refine quenching body Dan in one attempt, and if I am successful then you will kowtow in front of everyone and apologize to me." Chen Shang repeated it with a serious face, making sure that nobody thought of it as a joke. Moreover, his expression was also full of the arrogance. Can a teenager face an elder like this? Not many within the Chen family would even dare to think of doing something like this. Chen Haohai was trembling with anger, because he saw Chen Shang ask with a serious look, and he did not dare to comply immediately, but everybody around was waiting for an answer. Chen Shang was watching Chen Haohai intently, while continuing, "You slander me in public by declaring me as a useless waste, and now I want to prove myself, while simultaneously making you apologize to me. As a senior you're still refusing to bet with me." Chen Haohai wanted to beat the crap out of this little brat, but he actually did not dare. After all, killing a child of the Chen family was a very serious matter. An old man said, "Since it is like that, Chen Haohai, you bet with him," but a kowtow apology is exempted. After all, it was simply some angry words of a little brat. If he can refine a pill in a single attempt, Chen Haohai, you must give appropriate compensation. "I agree, if my son loses, I will not fight for the patriarch position," Chen Tianyu said, then nodded his head towards Chen Shang. Chen Tianyu's words caused an uproar. Chen Haohai while snorting said, "Okay, I will bet. If I lose, then I will give him my 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass." 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass. Everyone together shouted in a low voice. How could they not be surprised? The blood spirit grass grown for 1,000 years was a very expensive and profound level low-grade spirit herb. "Chen Shang, if you start the alchemy now, about how long will you need?" that old man asked. He was a Chen family elder and carried a certain prestige. According to everyone's understanding, refining a mortal level low-grade pill will at least take half a day, and the fastest it will take is 2 or 3 hours, but it was now being refined by a 16-year-old teenager. "Quickly, we do not need to delay much time." In between conversation, Chen Shang sat down cross-legged, and that elder and Chen Haohai came to check the alchemy furnace to prevent Chen Shang from cheating. "Inferior alchemy furnace, it seems, Chen Tianyu, that you are very poor." Chen Haohai started sneering, as everyone knew that all of Chen Tianyu's money was spent on Chen Shang. Chen Shang finished removing the herbs from his storage pouch, reorganized and inspected them. While pouring his warm true qi flame inside the furnace, he put all the herbs inside, and his every move was very meticulous. But the true qi flame also made everyone slightly surprised. Although many people can release flames to attack, but they could only do so through some martial skill, and those flames can only be released for the purpose of attacking. In simple words, they cannot control the flames as freely as Chen Shang, and only if they practiced fire control type exercises could they do so, but these exercises were very rare and difficult to practice. Chen Shang continuously poured the flame inside the alchemy furnace, and at this time, from within the alchemy furnace, the smell of some herbal aroma leaked out. 1 hour had passed, and everyone saw with closed eyes that Chen Zhang's eyebrows suddenly started twitching. Onlookers knew he was in the most crucial phase, and Chen Haohai, who was also watching this, started sweating. He was worried that he would have to give up a 1,000-year blood spirit grass if he lost. Everyone saw smoke drifting out from inside alchemy furnace, and at this time Chen Shang also opened his eyes and with a happy expression stood up and said, "Please inspect it." "What? Completed in 1 hour?" Everyone's expressions were full of questions. That elder started to inspect first. Although he does not know much about alchemy, he was fully aware of the alchemic process, and he had been carefully watching Chen Shang, knowing that Chen Shang followed the basic steps of alchemy. Although he was not clear about the situation inside the alchemy furnace, he was able to sense the heat in the furnace constantly changing, and these changes were very subtle. Opening the lid of furnace, everyone smelt the faint herbal aroma, and they were truly familiar with this aroma. Moreover, they also witnessed the refining process, and when they saw the elder taking out 5 snow-white pills, everyone could not help but exclaim. Chapter 10, All Fight. Chapter 010, All Fight. Was I mistaken? He is only 16 years old and is already able to refine the quenching body pill. He is extremely talented. A man shouted with shock. It looks like the quality of this quenching body pill is much better than what we usually use. I did not think that Chen Shang would be so secretive. He has been hiding his strength and biding his time. Just his alchemy techniques alone make him much more valuable than those geniuses with high-grade spiritual veins, another man exclaimed. All of the Chen family's core members gathered in this field now sighed with jealousy and envy. Chen Haohai was shocked, sad and angry, all at the same time. His complexion turned very ugly. The obvious reason being that he had just lost 1,000-year blood spirit grass. If it were to be taken to the auction house, it would have been sold for an extremely high price. The Chen family's elder had trembling hands. Both of his eyes were wide open while staring at the snow-white pills in his palm. My Chen family finally has an alchemist. The Chen family finally had an alchemist on their side. These simple words set the blood of every single Chen family member aboil. One had to know that the Chen family did not have an alchemist, so they had to spend large amounts of resources to buy pills that were made by others. This caused them to be ridiculed by some of the fierce martial practitioners that belonged to the other aristocratic families. But now, the Chen family also had an alchemist. Not to mention, this boy was so young. Sooner or later he was bound to become a grandmaster-level alchemist. Chen Haohai, you bet with my son willingly, now you should admit and accept your defeat. Chen Tianyu said with a laugh. Humph, Chen Haohai was jealous but also very sad. He reluctantly took out the 1000-year blood spirit grass and handed it over to Chen Shang. Now nobody in the entire Chen family would even dare to look down on Chen Shang. After all, he was now a 16-year-old alchemist. Many of the girls from the branch families even started to throw coquettish looks towards Chen Shang in an attempt to reel him in. Many of the young boys from the Chen family glared at Chen Shang with fire in their eyes, they were jealous to the point of death. Chen Shang completely turned a blind eye towards their reactions, as he remembered many of these people ridiculing him before. Even if your son is an alchemist, you still have to fight for the patriarch position. Chen Haohai retorted. Two other middle-aged men that were previously competing with Chen Tianyu for the patriarch position announced their withdrawal. They were able to tell that Chen Shang was only 16 years old, yet he was already able to refine Immortal level low-grade Dan. It could be said that his future was immeasurable and potentially boundless. Not offending such a person would be the most sensible approach. Other than Chen Haohai and Chen Tianyu, there was just one other person remaining in the competition for the title of patriarch. Chen Haohai said, Chen Tianyu, now you just have to fight against us two brothers. If you win, then naturally the position of patriarch will be yours. Chen Tianyu while squinting his eyes said, this is what you are saying. Well then, will the two of you come together or one by one? Even though Chen Tianyu was outnumbered, his speech did not show any signs of weakness but instead displayed his strong character. Chen Tianyu was indeed someone capable of making others submit before him. Of course it will be one-on-one. We brothers would not want anyone to think we are bullies, now would we? Hearing Chen Haohai, the crowd retreated a few steps back, giving the three of them more space. The shockwaves emitted by a battle between two practitioners at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm alone were extremely frightening. Everyone retreated away from the edges of the field. Both Chen Tianyu and Chen Haohai simultaneously moved using their fastest speeds, both of their palms striking the other. Their palms closely stuck to each other, while they started contesting using their true qi. Chen Haohai's whole body was covered with scorching hot true qi, while there was no movement from Chen Tianyu. But the hideous blue veins that were filled with true qi was appearing on Chen Tianyu. Both of them are still stuck closely together, while looking at each other with serious expressions. Suddenly the whole field started to shake and tremble, the ground beneath them began to crack, and waves of air currents were violently blowing sand and dust in all four directions. Chen Tianyu violently roared, and with it the shaking disappeared and the fierce air current also stopped. Chen Haohai was blown backwards while coughing up large amounts of blood, while Chen Tianyu also retreated few steps. Falling on the ground, Chen Haohai struggled to get up on his feet. He knew that he had just lost, but there was a trace of a proud smile on his face. This contest Chen Tianyu had won, but his complexion became pale. Chen Haohai while laughing said, although you have won the battle, but you will lose this war. In your current state, even a 6th-level mortal martial realm martial practitioner can easily defeat you. While laughing, he also coughed up a lot of blood, as it could be seen that he had suffered some heavy internal injuries. You are also in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm? Chen Tianyu asked while covering his abdomen with one hand. He did not think that Chen Haohai would unexpectedly step into the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Are you not same? Chen Haohai sneered. Both Chen Haohai and Chen Tianyu were actually 8th level mortal martial realm martial practitioners, and this made everyone shocked. Everyone could see that Chen Haohai did not even hesitate to severely injure Chen Tianyu. Chen Tianyu still had another fight left and his opponent was Chen Haohai's younger brother. Chen Shang swiftly moved past, supporting Chen Tianyu who was almost about to fall. Dad, how are you? While asking, Chen Shang put his hand on Chen Tianyu's abdomen and poured a pure wood true qi into his father's body. Sensing the vigorous wood true qi gushing inside his body, Chen Tianyu shuddered, looked at Chen Shang with a shocked expression, but soon calmed down. Editor's note. From now on we'll try to use just wood true qi, or lightning true qi instead of wooden attributed or lightning attributed true qi as that's too long and they have the same meaning. I suffered some serious internal injuries. Chen Haohai did not hesitate to seriously injure me, so do not waste your true qi. Chen Tianyu was excited in his heart, because he felt his son's true qi was quite vigorous, and its strength was far more than what he had expected. Chen Shang's heart became very heavy after listening to Chen Tianyu. If his father lost the battle, then it would become a hopeless situation. Start the second battle, do not waste time needlessly. Chen Haohai said with a weak voice and a pale complexion, but he was very excited inside. He could already see the scene of his brother defeating Chen Tianyu. Chen Shang, while watching Chen Haohai intensely, with a sharp aura flashing in his eyes, said, "I'll fight." Chen Shang unexpectedly wanted to fight in place of his father, and this made everyone quite surprised. They knew Chen Shang did not have any spiritual veins and therefore was not very strong. However, he could still release true qi flames and already had a profound level of control over them, but he cannot recover the true qi in such a short amount of time. Chen Shang wasn't also going to be facing an ordinary person, and his opponent was a practitioner with the strength at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Everyone mostly thought that in order to make his father the patriarch, Chen Shang made an idiotic decision. Chen Tianyu was also very surprised by Chen Shang, but when he saw Chen Zhang's gaze full of confidence, his worries disappeared. Moreover, he was now seriously injured, so if he fights in his current condition then he will surely lose. Not to mention that his injuries will surely become worse. A teenager came forth with a contemptuous laugh. "You do not have a spiritual vein and you want to enter the dispute for the patriarch's position. By just refining some low-leveled pills, you think you have enough strength. I alone can easily put you down. Plus I recently entered the 5th level of the mortal martial realm." This teenager was Chen Junhua, and he had some conflict with Chen Shang in the Spirit Dan Hall and was Chen Haohai's son. Entering into the 5th level of the mortal martial realm at this age also made him a rare genius and thus justifies his arrogance. "Chen Junhua, if I win against you, what will happen then?" Chen Shang said with a dull tone. His expression was very calm, not like a hot-headed person. Chapter 11. Divine Exercise Strength Revealed. Chapter 11. Divine Exercise Strength Revealed. Chen Tianyu felt that Chen Zhang's true qi was unusually strong, but he also had quite a unique breath, the likes of which he had never seen before. He gave this matter some serious consideration, then said, "Let my son represent me in this battle. If he were to lose, then the patriarch's position will belongs to your brother, moreover he will also return that 1,000-year blood spirit grass back to you." Chen Tianyu's proposal meant that he believed Chen Shang had a chance of winning, which made Chen Shang feel no small pressure in his heart. He turned around, looked at Chen Tianyu and saw Chen Tianyu showing a trace of warmth in his smile while nodding his heart. "Well then, allow me to come and settle this matter with my own 2 hands. Chen Junhua came from the crowd to the center of the field while his face was full of contempt and his pair of eyes, which were looking at Chen Shang, were filled with pride. At such a young age, he had already entered the 5th level of mortal martial realm. Chen Junhua ignored Chen Zhang's young alchemist achievement while showing an arrogant approach. Seeing this, many elders of the Chen family inwardly shook their heads, because they all know one alchemist has the potential to raise many powerful martial artists. The seriously injured Chen Haohai with a sneer said, "Young men sure are filled with youthful energy. If in the process of fighting, what will happen if someone were to die? Accidentally killing Chen family's talented alchemist, I will be scolded to death by those old fellows." Chen Tianyu did not speak, he was seriously contemplating this. Chen Haohai slightly smiling. "If you are determined to make your alchemist's son go to battle, and if by chance some mishap happened in the middle of fight, everybody can only wonder that he had half-baked skills. Rest assured, if I was injured or killed, it will be my own responsibility." Chen Shang said, he knows if his father could not become the patriarch, even though his son is an alchemist, he still will be vigorously suppressed by Chen Haohai, because in the eyes of Chen Haohai he is a big threat. Everybody clearly heard, this is what he said. "Since it is this way, then let him first contest with my son, and if he wins against my son, it will be clear that he has the qualification to battle with my younger brother." Chen Haohai's face was filled with a happy expression, because he concluded Chen Shang was not that strong. Even if he was able to win against his own son, it was impossible to win against his brother. After all, his brother was in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Not only would he become the Chen family patriarch, but also be able to recapture the 1,000-year blood spirit grass. Chen Junhua, after getting his father's permission, with face full of contempt said, "If you get seriously injured due to my carelessness, you cannot blame me. Who told you to bite more than you can chew?" Chen Shang, with an expressionless face, turned towards Chen Haohai and asked, "If I win I can fight instead of my father, right?" "Ha ha ha." Chen Haohai laughed, "Yes, but you have to win first." The people who were supporting Chen Haohai began to laugh. Chen Junhua, while performing the kung fu courtesy of covering one's fist, with a sneer said, "I will not be lenient." Ed. Kung fu courtesy of covering one's fist. "Start," shouted Chen Tianyu with an imposing look. As soon as the word left Chen Tianyu's mouth, Chen Junhua quickly jumped and rushed towards Chen Shang. His movements were gentle and elegant and his hands were held high facing the sky. But just a moment later, a fierce wind surged forth and a golden aura began circulating around his hands and it instantly formed into a giant golden axe. The Chen family's high-grade spirit-level martial skill, the Heavenly Sun Axe Strike. It can transform one's true qi into a weapon with a strong offensive power. A person exclaimed, and a high-grade spirit-level martial skill was difficult to learn, but its power was huge. Chen Shang stood there motionlessly, just staring at the incoming axe. When everyone was thinking that he was scared due to fierce metal true qi, and seeing the true qi transform into a golden axe that was about to smash his head. Fierce qi surged out from within Chen Shang, and he opened his mouth and emitted a thunderous roar. Similar to that of a dragon, it made everyone's eardrum tingle. The most shocking thing was that what came out of Chen Zhang's mouth was a large amount of azure-colored true qi, flying towards Chen Junhua and inundating him. The true qi transformed into an azure dragon, the kind of diffusing vicissitudes of an ancient dragon and shocking everyone around. It could be seen that this true qi was very strong and couldn't be practiced out from an ordinary sutra. When Chen Shang emitted the dragon roar, everyone present near the field became transfixed. They watched Chen Shang with a face full of surprise, and if they had not witnessed Chen Shang emitting this tyrannical true qi, they wouldn't have believed it. Chen Tianyu saw how amazing his son is, and it made him extremely proud, excited and slightly agitated. The complexion of Chen Haohai and his followers became extremely ugly, as they were well aware of how frightening that true qi was. Chen Zhang's azure dragon roar instantly shattered Chen Junhua's Heavenly Sun Axe Strike like as if it were glass. The true qi storm that surged from within his mouth contained a very frightening and destructive power. Chen Junhua's entire body was filled with bloodstains. This azure dragon roar was also from the Azure Dragon Divine Exercise. The dragon roar produced by Chen Shang was similar to an original dragon's roar. Its might would devastate both a person's heart and soul. Also from within his mouth a lightning and wind storm burst forth, and the power of the wind was similar to a knife attacking the enemy. It was incomparably overbearing. No one even dared to blink, for the fear of missing something, and Chen Shang did not disappoint them. Just moments after Chen Zhang's roar, his body flew like that of a dragon, appearing instantly in front of the still dazed and panic-stricken Chen Junhua. Chen Shang's fingers stretched and an azure aura flashed from his arm, taking the shape of a dragon's claw, strong and vigorous, and surged with the extremely tyrannical azure dragon true qi. Just like how an eagle catches a rabbit as quick as lightning, he caught Chen Junhua's head and grasped it instantaneously. The claw opened abruptly, like a dragon's claw. The claws were as sharp as knives and the scales were clearly visible. With the sudden appearance of an azure dragon claw covering the head of Chen Junhua, a sharp and slaughtering qi burst forth, and everyone's heart shook. They all saw that after Chen Junhua's head was covered with the dragon claw, he emitted a pitiful loud scream, and Chen Junhua retreated a few steps while vomiting blood. This was the Azure Dragon Claw, the super strong offensive martial technique of the Azure Dragon Divine Exercise. Everyone saw Chen Junhua's bloodied body and his face was full of horror. They were having a very hard time believing what just happened. Chen Shang defeated Chen Junhua in a flash and in such a beautiful way. Bang! Chen Junhua fell down, and everyone was shocked. They felt cold in their spine and only now confirmed what had happened. Abnormally powerful azure true qi, a strange and frightening martial technique, emitting a tyrannical power, and all of this was all done by Chen Shang, who did not even have a spiritual vein. Chen Haohai watched his son getting severely wounded and he could not help but vomit blood. He saw Chen Junhua was still breathing and converged his qi with his son. Although Chen Junhua was covered with multiple scars, he was not seriously injured, which showed that Chen Shang was holding back. Chen Haohai looked at Chen Tianyu with a face full of gratitude while Chen Tianyu just smiled at him. This can only be blamed at his half-assed skills, it's no wonder he got wounded so easily. Chen Shang said dismissively. Chen Zhang's expression in his eyes were clear, neither cold nor dull. I can now fight on behalf of my father. Chapter 12. Battle of Great Disparity. Chapter 12. Battle of Great Disparity. Not only was Chen Shang such a young alchemist, but he had also entered the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. Even with such accomplishments, he had neither shown any arrogance or pride. This subtlety had made the Chen family branch commanders and elders secretly appreciate his behavior. Chen Shang looked at the middle-aged man standing beside Chen Haohai. He was Chen Haohai's little brother Chen Yian, a 7th level mortal martial realm practitioner. He was a handsome man with a beard. He gradually walked towards Chen Shang and had not spoken since the beginning. Chen Shang was to do battle with him, but he only had the strength of a 5th-level mortal martial realm practitioner. No one dared to leave, as such a thing had actually happened in the Chen family patriarch election, and it was something nobody had expected. Chen Yian saw his nephew being defeated, but he did not even show a trace of anger, and with a mystical smile he said, "No matter how talented you are still going to lose against a 7th-level mortal martial realm expert." Chen Yian had to admit, if Chen Shang were to be given a few years' worth of time, then he would not even stand a chance against him. But that was the future, and presently the chance of him winning was a 100%. Chen Yian practiced with ice true qi, and in the Chen family, this type of true qi practitioner was special. Out of the Chen family's junior generation, none dared to challenge a senior who was at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. If they heard someone attempting this before, they would think of it as madness. No one would believe it, but now that all of the Chen family members saw how fierce Chen Zhang's techniques were, their hearts were filled with uncertainty. But most of them still believed that Chen Shang would lose. After all, not only was there a large gap in age, but also in strength. Not to mention Chen Yian had practiced many high-grade martial techniques, even his true qi was much more vigorous, and not a single young practitioner had the capability to compete with Chen Yian. A battle of great disparity, where the gap in power was too large, was about to begin. Everyone was watching quietly, as this was the deciding match to determine the next patriarch of the family. Chen Shang had practiced the Azure Dragon Divine exercise for only 2 months, and he had the Yin and Yang Divine vein. He had spent a large amount of time absorbing the spirit qi between heaven and earth, enhancing the true qi within himself. After all, he was simultaneously cultivating 5 true qi whirlpools that had 5 different kinds of attributes, so his true qi was much more vigorous. Also, between the 5th level true qi realm and the 7th level true aura realm, there was the 6th level divine sense realm. Divine sense was, although the cultivation of your spirit, it could congeal a kind of controlling true qi type spiritual power. This provides major assistance in controlling true qi, and with time, it could also strengthen one's true qi. After having cultivated the divine sense, one can then start cultivating the true qi aura force. Chen Yian was at the 7th level true aura realm, and he could use his fierce qi aura. It was not something that true qi could match up to, so he had absolute confidence that he would be able to defeat Chen Shang. Chen Zhang's frightening martial skill could deter everyone, but those who had knowledge regarding true qi could see that Chen Zhang's true qi was very immature, and it could not be compared to qi aura. However, it was still very powerful when compared to others in the same level as him. Chen Yian gradually moved towards Chen Shang, and with every step he takes, the temperature dropped rapidly. Freezing cold air was blowing all around, and most people could see that Chen Yian was on the verge of a breakthrough. The icy true qi of his was extremely strong. Chen Shang was not too far away from Chen Yian, and he felt that this kind of freezing cold was most profound. At this time Chen Yian congealed out true qi aura, which can only be achieved at 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Chen Shang used the vermilion bird true qi within his body, which was a fire-attributed true qi. After being affected by the cold qi, Chen Shang became stimulated. The vermilion bird true qi started rushing from within his dantian into his numerous bones and 4 limbs. After feeling the comfortable warmth brought out by the vermilion bird true qi, Chen Zhang's body was finally restored from the sudden stiffness. He. Chen Yian's sinister laugh resounded throughout the entire area, and suddenly a white icy qi started overflowing from the center of his palm. The threatening freezing cold qi aura was clearly discernible and directly rushed towards Chen Zhang's head. Chen Shang saw that his opponent was making a move, and he slid forward, as slippery and flexible as a snake. Sliding quickly to the front while trying to avoid Chen Yian's attack, he also unexpectedly attacked. Chen Zhang's treading was flexible and mysterious, and both of his hands transformed into dragon claws. Mesmerizing Azure Dragon true qi overflowed from both of his hands, and this was the same Azure Dragon claw used to defeat Chen Zhanhua previously. But this time, he brought out a dragon claw from both his hands, which caused everyone to hold their breath in anticipation. Humph! Chen Yian emitted a cold sneer, and 2 icy qi palms boldly shot towards Chen Zhang's dragon claws. When Chen Yian's palms struck Chen Zhang's dragon claws, a cold qi gushed out and Chen Zhang's pair of azure dragon claws suddenly shattered. Chen Zhang's arms were covered with a thick layer of ice, and frosty qi was permeating into his body and causing his entire self to stiffen up. Chen Yian smiled coldly, and from his feet frost congealed out and he slightly jumped. He vigorously kicked Chen Zhang's cheek, which flung Chen Shang 10 feet away. Chen Shang fell on the ground, his cheek sheared due to the sharp ice, and drawing a few scars. The ice which was covering his arms also broke, but both his hands were actually frozen stiff. The Tai Chi diagram from the divine exercise started revolving and absorbing the cold chi flowing inside his body, while allowing the fiery vermilion bird true chi to surge into his arms, getting rid of the cold pain. Chen Shang now only realized that even though he had a divine exercise, the gap between the two of them was still too large, but he had to win. Ha ha ha, I have to acknowledge that out of all the geniuses that have ever been born in the Chen family, you are the greatest one yet, but you and your father are too arrogant. Chen Yian with an evil smile, step by step moved towards Chen Shang, as he was in no hurry to kill Chen Shang. He wants to tear Chen Shang into numerous pieces in front of the Chen family members, to show his strength and deter everyone. Suddenly, Chen Shang with a flip actually stood up, and everyone thought he was seriously injured from the kick a moment ago, but it looked like nothing had happened to him. Including Chen Yian, everyone was surprised. On the sidelines where Chen Tianyu was watching, he let out a sigh of relief while transferring chi to heal himself. Seeing that Chen Shang had not taken that much damage, Chen Yian leapt forward. Moving with elegance and gentleness, for everyone present, this agility skill was pleasing to the eye. With Chen Yian approaching, Chen Shang felt that he was inside a world full of ice and snow, and below his feet were covered with a layer of frost. Chen Yian leapt, and the freezing cold fist felt like it was strong enough to shake the skies. His fist instantaneously landed on Chen Zhang's chest, and blood started to flow from where he was just struck, but it was immediately covered with frost. It is the profound ice aura energy. A high-grade profound level martial skill, releasing it can even pierce metal and break stone. Chen Tianyu spoke with a dignified tone. After being hit, Chen Shang almost simultaneously dodged the incoming flying kick coming from Chen Yian, resulting in Chen Yian's kick to be covered with a layer of ice when it landed on the ground, and shattering a large amount of bricks, and it also crushed stones from the shock and froze them. Casting Chi Aura has two weaknesses: it consumes true Chi and divine sense quickly, but if he does not use Chi Aura, you will not get injured. Chen Tianyu said. Chen Shang knew that he could only drag the battle on. Chapter 13, 5-Element Fusion. Chapter 13, Fusion of the 5 Elements. Well, it's useless. I have a very large amount of true Chi. You probably won't be able to drag it out for long and be the first one to fall. Chen Yian objected. He resumed his onslaught against Chen Shang, delivering countless strikes against him. Even before the flurry of attacks, Chen Shang was injured. Now that Chen Yian continued to keep up the pressure, he was confident that Chen Xing would soon die by his hand. Chen Yian blasted fist after fist, continuously attacking with his profound ice aura energy. He also delivered the attacks from a long range away, so that Chen Shang could not retaliate and only endure. Ha ha ha, just a moment ago you kept on proclaiming that you must fight on behalf of your father. But now look, you don't even have the strength to resist. Chen Yian emitted a shrill laugh. On Chen Zhang's body, many bloody holes were emerging due to the strikes caused by the profound ice aura energy which burst out from the inside of his skin. Chen Shang took a deep breath while revolving the Tai Chi Yin-Yang diagram within his body. With the help of his spiritual power, he controlled the 5 elements of true Chi stored inside his body and proceeded to fuse them together. The 5 elements of true Chi started to converge. Right now, the only chance of winning for Chen Shang was to simultaneously use the 5 elements of true Chi. However, after the 5 elements of true Chi were done fusing together, it would become intrepid and wild. His current meridians were not be able to bear the strain. Fusing together the 5 elements of true Chi had never been attempted by anyone before this, mainly because nobody ever had the opportunity. Chen Shang was the first to embark on this mysterious domain which could be called pure insanity. If he was unable to control the Qigong deviation would occur, and as a result Chen Shang would die. However, he was successful. Although he felt his meridians threatening to rupture, within his dantian, the 5 elements of true Chi had actually been perfectly fused together. But it was still much harder to control, and a large amount of true Chi was lost from his meridians. Chen Shang knew that he must act quickly, before the true Chi was exhausted. He needed to use this frightening power to defeat Chen Yian. A violent aura suddenly exploded from Chen Shang. Chen Yian's heart could not help but thump, as the true Chi that suddenly appeared gave off the impression of an overbearing and tyrannical nature that would not hesitate to destroy anything in its path. Ah! Chen Zhang's body was in pain due to the impact from the violent true Chi, and he could not help but howl in pain. Suddenly, visible oppressive Chi waves started to pour out. A howl engulfed everything around them like a sea, as the whole field fiercely shook. All the bricks near Chen Shang started to shatter. Everything in the entire world was constituted of the 5 elements. By fusing together the 5 elemental forces, it would contain the heaven and universe. At the moment, Chen Shang had fused together the 5 elemental forces and formed the universe's power, the universal true qi. Fall down. From within Chen Yian's body, an icy qi burst forth. The more he felt threatened by Chen Shang, the more he wanted to end the battle and quickly defeat Chen Shang in order to prevent him from being victorious. Lightning was flashing in Chen Zhang's eyes. He moved towards Chen Yian with large strides, and the soles of his feet were filled with the universal force containing a destructive nature. Each of his steps broke the floor tiles on impact. The momentum from his intense speed was like that of a herd of 10,000 steeds. Profound ice aura energy. Chen Yian eyebrows twitched as he looked at Chen Shang. Both his fists moved together as 2 more intrepid freezing cold aura energies sprayed a cold chi strike towards Chen Shang. At this moment Chen Zhang's mental state was similar to a maniac. In his mind there was only one thought, to defeat Chen Yian. The 2 profound ice aura energy were able to tear stones apart on impact. Chen Shang roared as he caught the frightening aura energies with both of his palms. A layer of ice momentarily covered his arms, but was broken in just an instant while never stopping his charge. It only took a moment for Chen Shang to arrive in front of Chen Yian. His pair of fists struck forward, each producing a true qi explosion. This turned out to be the very common high-grade mortal-level martial skill, Storm-Killing Fist. With each fist, a true qi explosion would be produced, and it was extremely lethal, but in return it consumed a lot of true qi. As each fist moved through the air, thunderous qi waves were emitted. Yet even with this, Chen Zhang's fists were lightning quick. Fist after fist, the waves of blows surged without break, almost as if executing that storm-killing fist did not consume any true qi. Chen Shang had casted that storm-killing fist with universal true qi. This frightening level of power made everyone's heart tremble. This level of attack was actually equal to qi aura. Chen Yian also had to use qi aura in order to resist Chen Zhang's wild, storm-killing fists which fell towards his body like rain on the ground. As he resisted each blow, his heart could not help but sink. The violent true qi explosion even made him feel fear. If even one fist managed to strike him, getting seriously injured would be unavoidable. Even after a few more breaths of time, Chen Shang continuously blasted dozens of storm-killing fists. Chen Tianyu's eyes were wide open. His son was actually this incredibly valiant, but he could tell that Chen Zhang's situation was actually not that good. To display power which transcends one's limit, was essentially damaging to their own body. Mother ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* storm-killing fists. He could not help but curse. For everyone else, it was their first time seeing someone using storm-killing fist in such a peculiar manner. It was also the first time they understood that this high-grade mortal-level martial skill could unexpectedly become this frightening. The universal true chi was intensely draining for Chen Zhang's body. He was regretting in his heart. He felt that if the true chi inside him was consumed and Chen Yian was still not defeated, then he was doomed. Chen Shang suddenly opened his mouth and let loose a giant roar. A dragon's roar resounded through the horizon. Chen Shang ejected a violent clear true chi from his mouth, submerging Chen Yian's figure in one shout. This was the Azure Dragon roar, but this time colorless universal true chi was surging out. Inside the roar was lighting, flame, water, ice and various other kinds of attributes. Chen Yian did not expect Chen Shang to suddenly cast a large move. He quickly retreated to open up a gap between them while operating his true chi. He started releasing his chi aura to create an ice cover to try and resist this violent true chi attack. Suddenly, in Chen Zhang's hands, appeared a broadsword that was gleaming with a cold light. TLN, broadsword Da Dao. Chen Zhang's whole body was emitting a violent true chi. He pulled back the blade and with a yell, poured all of his remaining true chi into the blade. This let loose a burst of glaring azure aura that exuded a sharp dragon roar that cracked stone and penetrated the clouds. The sight was mesmerizing to the hearts and souls of those present. Chen Shang leapt into the sky. His blade that was boosted with azure light left only a blur to be seen. Slicing the air with irresistible force, the blade hacked towards Chen Yian's head. No! From the distance a voices resounded. The broadsword had been chopped downwards with an intent to split Chen Yian in half, but the blade stopped right next to his neck. Receiving that quick and powerful attack from Chen Shang, violent true chi surged out in all four directions as everyone stood like a stone carving in situ, blankly staring at Chen Shang holding that broadsword. Everyone was shocked speechless by Chen Zhang's crazy and overbearing martial might. How was he a waste with no spiritual vein? He is simply a frightening monster. A 16-year-old yet defeating a 7th-level mortal martial realm practitioner. It was simply a miracle. In addition, Chen Shang was also an alchemist. Their family gave birth to this type of genius. This fact alone made many of the Chen family members' hearts incomparably excited. Chen Shang underscore, Chen Shang underscore, Chen Shang. Many people were shouting Chen Zhang's name in unison. Within their hearts, their feelings could not help but give way to newfound pride. Before, everyone thought that Chen Shang accepting the challenge of the Yao family genius would be similar to fighting a hopeless battle. But looking back on it now, Chen Shang was completely sure about winning. Chapter 14, Immortal and Devil Pool. Chapter 14, Immortal and Devil Pool. Inside the field, Chen Tianyu arrived at the side of the injured Chen Haohai and Chen Yian. Facing them he said, "You and I were all competing for the patriarch's position. I did not hope to end it such a way. We are Chen family members and we should all be united. If you refuse to accept me as your patriarch, you can take your followers and leave the Chen family." Chen Haohai and Chen Yian both glanced at each other before looking towards Chen Shang and heaving heavy sighs. Chen Haohai firmly grasped Chen Tianyu's arm. With a heavy tone he said, "I hope you can lead the Chen family. I, Chen Haohai, have lived as a Chen family member and even after death I will become a Chen family ghost. I, Chen Haohai, am sincerely convinced by the new patriarch." Chen Haohai and Chen Yian were not fools. They had gained insight on how frightening Chen Zhang's potential is. If he is cultivated well, soon he will have very good chances to become a fierce alchemist. If you could build a good relation now, you can reap the benefits later. It is not wise to offend a top-level alchemist. Plus, Chen Tianyu was now letting go of all the past enmities, which is good thing for them. "Two seniors, for the previous offenses please forgive me. For our Chen family to survive in these lands for many years, we must not have internal strife." Chen Shang gave his apologies after arriving in front of Chen Haohai and Chen Yian. Chen Zhang's statements and actions caused many Chen family children and elders to secretly nod in approval. Although at such a young age he had already defeated a formidable elder, he was not proud, but actually very modest. This kind of subtlety is quite rare among many of the Chen family juniors. The Chen brothers were also somewhat ashamed. "My dear nephew, first go and recuperate. Dragging the injuries for a long time can be detrimental to future cultivation," Chen Yian said, while passing some of his healing dans. For the elder competition to reach such a conclusion, made the other elders quite satisfied. An elder with a clear and resonant voice said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the banquet will take place after 10 days, but I also request for everyone to stay after as well. By that time, many other families will have sent someone to participate. At that point, it would be a good opportunity for you to make friends with the other families." Chen Xian returned to his room. While looking at his scarred body, he could not help but let loose a deep breath. Just before, his fight with Chen Yian was very dangerous. Yet at this moment, his mind was excited because at the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, he has the strength to defeat someone at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. After giving his all in the previous fight, he also felt like his power level had somewhat increased. He had gained a lot of experience in utilizing qi. No wonder he had heard that in order to become a powerful martial artist, one needed to go through numerous battles. Just as Chen Shang was about to take the healing pills, two auras reflected onto his eyes. He blinked, only to see Bai Yuyu and Su Meiyao with straight faces standing right in front of him. "You brat, just a moment ago, you were too rash. What would we do if you had died? We have poured too much effort into your body," shouted Bai Yuyu with a cold expression. Chen Shang felt a cold chill running down his spine. Su Meiyao stuck her tongue out and said, "After considering the circumstance, devilish brat, you were somewhat courageous. This time, we will let you off the hook. However, next time you must be cautious. Take off your clothes, I will help you apply the ointments." During Chen Shang and Chen Yian's battle, his body was covered in many cuts due to the icy true aura. His body was covered in numerous bloodstains. If it was not specially treated, it would be harder to heal. Thus, Chen Shang was now lying on his bed enjoying the soft and tender hands of Su Meiyao applying some ointments, which made him feel very comfortable. In accordance with custom, the other families were invited to celebrate the newly elected Chen family patriarch. However, it takes quite some time for the other families to arrive, so the actual celebration is held sometime later. But at this banquet, everyone's attention was on the expected alchemy competition between Chen Shang and the Yao family genius. Everyone was discussing this coming alchemy competition, so at this time, many people were coming to the banquet. Many came to see the Chen family get humiliated. The Chen family's security was very tight, so news of Chen Zhang's recent achievements did not spread. In the morning, a drop of azure essence was spat out by Chen Shang. This dewdrop was congealed from his use of the dragon saliva exercise. He wants to grasp more alchemy techniques in the upcoming 10 days and wants to try refining Immortal level middle grade pill. At his age, to congeal Immortal level middle grade, quenching body Dan, was enough to be compared with legendary genius alchemists and even transcend many of them. You want to refine mortal level middle grade in this short time? It is somewhat difficult, but I Su Meiyao like to do these kind of challenging things. Su Meiyao's gentle voice transmitted through Chen Zhang's mind. Chen Shang while laughing said, Sister Meiyao, then quickly teach me. Su Meiyao with a soft smile said, don't grin that happily. This will come with a price. Although you are quite skilled in refining mortal level low-grade dans, and even have a bit of experience in refining middle-grade dans, your spiritual power is not enough. You need to be at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Then, with divine sense, you will become able to accurately manipulate the flames, and with enough control, instantly congeal the dans. Chen Shang, while nodding his head, said, well on the side, I will accelerate the growth of the mortal level middle grade spirit herb, while elevating my power level. I hope to catch up before the day of the alchemy competition. Su Meiyao said, in order to practice divine sense, you need a large amount of true qi and spiritual power to successfully fuse together into divine sense. There is a certain level of difficulty, but since you practice the Tai Chi divine exercise, this process should be a lot fast. Still, doing it in 10 days is doubtful. Chen Shang let loose a small sigh, he has been too impatient and this was a big taboo. Well, there is still a way to quickly elevate your strength. Su Meiyao said with a mysterious smile said. How? Chen Shang asked quickly. Suddenly Bai Yu transmits with her ice-cold voice, Immortal and Devil Pool. At this moment, Chen Shang remembered that below the Immortal and Devil Cliff, there was a strange pool. When he had fallen down there, he was able to breathe inside it. Moreover, the pool was also shining. But besides that, he did not discover anything special about it. Is that the weird pool at the bottom of the cliff? Chen Shang asked with uncertainty. Yes, you should know we were forced by our personal enemy into that pool. Su Meiyao words made Chen Shang somewhat curious. It turned out, these two peerless martial arts girls were dropped there. In the end, how is that place mystical? The more Chen Shang thought about it, the more suspicious he got. This was because that Immortal and Devil Cliff was perennially filled with death qi, yet for some reason there was no trace of death qi near that pool. After Chen Shang learned that the Immortal and Devil Pool is out of the ordinary, he immediately mixed dragon saliva into the water, then poured in various spirit herbs and flowers. Following that, he greeted his father, and quietly left the Chen family villa, taking a trip to the Immortal and Devil Cliff. On the way, he listened to Su Meiyao describing things about the Immortal and Devil Cliff. That place is called the Immortal and Devil Cliff because that place was where immortals and devils are buried. That pool was transformed from the pure energy that was emitted from their corpses. Someone intentionally created that pool, and the death qi near its surroundings are also caused due to the overflow from the immortals and devils' corpses. Su Meiyao said. Chen Shang was horrified. Immortals and devil are legendary beings and he completely did not expect their corpses to lie there. This also made him incomparably excited, if that pool truly is made up of pure energy and he managed to obtain it. Chapter 15. Vermilion Bird Fire Wings. Chapter 15. Vermilion Bird Fire Wings. Chen Shang arrived at the Immortal and Devil Cliff while looking down at the black-colored death qi. He muttered, in this world are there really immortals and devils? Su Meiyao retorted with a soft snort, of course. Do not think that the true martial realm is the strongest state for martial practitioners. Above the true martial realm there are 3 further extreme stages, and then after this there is the nirvana realm. After a successful nirvana, one will be able to enter the heaven martial realm, reaching a huge spatial world, called heaven martial world. Do not think about those massive worlds, the world we are living in is called the mortal martial world and it is also vast. The spirit qi is very thin here, so there are very few accumulations of demon beasts. Those truly strong martial arts practitioners travel to places with very rich spirit qi. Their strong martial artists are as plentiful as the clouds and there are many demon beasts. However, it is also considered very dangerous. If one don't have a certain amount of strength, death is inevitable in that region. It was the first time Chen Shang had heard about the world of martial arts and it surprised him. However, it also made him realize just how insignificant he was. Before he used to think the true martial realm was very powerful, but he never imagined that there were stages above the true martial realm. Brat, this mortal martial world is vast, there are many mainlands besides this one. In some of these mainlands, there are many formidable martial artists, and in this endless world, there are many hidden realms. In these hidden realms, you can find many heavenly forged treasures. While also being very dangerous, as long you have enough strength, you'll be able to experience the vastness of the whole martial world. Currently, you just have to understand just how tiny and insignificant you are. Bai Yu said coldly. Chen Shang tightened his fist. This time, he had a brief outlook of the world, and only by constantly elevating his strength would it allow him to take foothold in this martial world where the strong are as trees in a forest, sturdy and unmoving. Chen Shang jumped down into the abyss. Currently, he was in the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, and there was a pool beneath him. Considering his strength, he did not need to waste time to climb down slowly. Splash! Chen Shang once again entered the pool with white light emitting from it. Abyssal demon beasts frequently appeared next to the pool, but Chen Shang did not fret about it, because the strength of these infested demon beasts were average and Chen Zhang's current strength was more than sufficient enough to deal with them. Mei Yao sister, how can I use the immortal and devil pool? Chen Shang asked while churning the strange water with his hands. Excluding the fact that the water was shining, he did not think there was anything strange about this place. Su Meiyao spoke. After the death of the immortals and devils, a great multitude of pure energy flew out of their corpses, but you cannot absorb these energies. After all, it's not your energy. However, you can only use the energy to refine the body and the spirit. But it is a very painful process. Chen Zhang's brow wrinkled. How long should I stay in the immortal and devil pool? Su Meiyao. I don't know. I suppose you can stay until you cannot bear the pain. You just have to jump inside the pool and start operating the Tai Chi divine exercise while simply trying to guide the energies into your body. Chen Shang, without any delay, took off his clothes and jumped inside, submerging himself in the pool. He could breathe normally underwater, so he had nothing to worry about. Moreover, this protected him from the attacks of the demon beasts. After submerging himself, Chen Shang began operating the Tai Chi divine exercise. Suddenly he felt that his body was being squeezed from all 4 directions by a bizarre power, as if to make his body to squeeze together to form a ball, which made him constantly wary. At the same time, a bizarre kind of energy madly rushed into his body. It continuously bombarded every part of his body as it flowed. He felt as if his body was about to burst. Every bone felt as if small insects were biting them, and it was a feeling worse than death itself. Some blisters were constantly emerging from the immortal and devil pool, and the water also churned continuously. This was all because of Chen Shang was frantically struggling in the pool from below. After an unknown amount of time, Chen Zhang's body started to float from the pool below. He was lying on the edge of the pool, and panting heavily. He said, "How have I not yet entered into the 6th level of mortal martial realm? Do you think you can break through this quickly? You are currently only refining the body so that your whole body becomes more powerful while also elevating your spirit." Su Meiyao's voice transmitted into his mind. Chen Shang stood up, gripping both his fists, and felt his strong body. Although he had yet to enter into the 6th level of mortal martial realm, a solid foundation was set. How many days was I under? Chen Shang asked. He had been subjected to unimaginable pain in the immortal and devil pool without any concept of time. Only 5 days. Although this immortal and devil pool has little use, it still lets you practice the basics of the immortal devil body, Su Meiyao said. Chen Zhang's heart was secretly shocked about this immortal devil body, and listening to the name he knew it was very formidable. Immortal and devil cliff. In the abyss below there was a roaring burst occasionally, as well as a weak surge of strange true qi. The true qi was filled with the sense of an ancient atmosphere of vicissitudes, surging with an inexplicable pressure. That true qi was Chen Shang releasing his Azure Dragon true qi by practicing the Azure Dragon divine exercise. Chen Shang did not leave the immortal and devil cliff, but still practiced below with a bare chest. On his iron fist Azure true qi was boldly rising, continuously bombarding the cliff, and broken stones violently flew. Hhi's whole body was filled with true qi. He released numerous strikes making a small cave in the cliff, but his breath however, remained stable, showing that his true qi and body strength were now much more vigorous. With every fist, true qi would rebound, directly surging from his arm into his head, and sudden spiritual power accumulated inside his brain, developing his brain and enhancing his spiritual power. This was one of the methods to practice divine sense. When Chen Shang was practicing below, the commotion was not small. An originally silent abyss was now rumbling with sounds, resounding throughout the abyss. After 2 days, Chen Shang felt his true qi was now full, and his spiritual power was much more enhanced, and as long as he opened his soul sea, he could advance to the 6th level of the mortal martial realm, the divine sense realm. To break through one needed his spiritual power to be vigorous. TLN. Divine sense Shi can be referred to spirit sense or simply soul. Since spirit is used in many places, I used divine sense, and not soul because it felt appropriate, because using divine sense felt better than using soul. Prepare to break through the level 6 threshold. Chen Shang took a long breath. After 2 days of practice, he could feel how tyrannical his body was, and this was all due to the refinement in the Immortal and Devil pool. Chen Shang sat cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes, and with rapt attention operated the true qi within his body. While releasing his spiritual power, he let the two blend, using spiritual power to sense the soul gate, and using the true qi to break it open. The profound heart law of the Tai Chi divine exercise was directing Chen Zhang's true qi and spiritual power to seek the soul gate hidden inside his soul. Soon, Chen Shang saw a golden door as if it was right in front of his eyes. Seeing the door meant the divine sense realm was right in front of him, condensed right between the eyebrows, and moving with one thought. Azure true qi suddenly transformed into a claw, then into a solemn azure dragon. The true qi that transformed into an azure dragon gave a fierce roar and hit that golden gate. As the azure dragon hit the door, it blew outward with a bang sound. Chen Shang saw a glaring golden aura. At the same time he opened his eyes and a tough true qi flowed in every part of his body, and he couldn't help but yell in surprise. The 5 elements of true qi violently surged out from inside his body, raising the fierce wind, and blowing out in all 4 directions. Is this 6th level of the mortal martial realm? Chen Shang closed his eyes while feeling his internal vigorous and formidable true qi, simultaneously releasing his divine sense, and the slightest sign of trouble all around was within his grasp. Chen Shang opens his eyes, slightly smiled. This time I can use that trick. Behind his back a sudden burst of fiery aura could be seen. The flames transformed into a pair of gigantic wings rising behind his back. A fiery aura burst out with a flash and heat waves rose, looking like a pair phoenix wings. Vermilion bird fire wings. Fly. Chen Zhang's laughter came forth, as his fire wings fluttered upward, and just within a few blinks of time, his silhouette was gone into the black death qi. This is where the 6th level of mortal martial realm showed its power. By controlling internal true qi with the powerful divine sense to keep it solidified, Chen Zhang's internal true qi could be released outside, to transform into wings and fly into the sky. Chapter 16. Yao Family. Chapter 16. Yao Family. Chen Shang was standing above the Immortal and Devil cliff. He had put away his vermilion bird fire wings. To transform true qi into wings required a very high-grade technique. He practiced the Tai Chi divine exercise which, of course, included these types of martial techniques. As Chen Shang arrived at the top of the Immortal and Devil cliff, he heard sounds of fighting coming from below. Although the distance was quite far away, he was able to hear it clearly through his divine sense. Chen Shang immediately started to fly towards it. If it was just an ordinary battle, he wouldn't pay the slightest attention, but the sounds of fighting were deafening and created large impacts. Chen Shang deduced from this that it was no ordinary martial battle. Chen Shang flew silently through the air, arriving before a forest clearing. There he saw 2 handsome teenagers against 5 black-robed assailants. The 2 seemed rather frail, but their strength was satisfactory. They were matching the 5 black-robed people's knife techniques, but their true qi was not potent enough. If they continued to delay, they would certainly end up being killed by the 5 black-robed people. It seems to be the Shui family imaginary sword technique, where the aura illuminating from the sword produces illusions, making it difficult to distinguish between opponents. Chen Shang read various martial art books in his lifetime, and could instantly identify the sword style with just a glance. After learning they were Shui family members, Chen Shang could not idly sit by. After all, Shui Shenxian was his fiancé. Additionally the Chen and Shui families had a close relationship. Watch out! Chen Shang shouted. His body seemed like an azure rainbow as he flew towards the commotion. His hand transformed into a dragon's claw as it headed straight towards the head of a black-robed man. He roared at the same moment as an azure true qi wave gushed out from inside his mouth, covering the black-robed man. Along with the azure dragon roar, Chen Zhang's azure dragon claw grasped the head of the black-robed man. In an instant, the black-robed man's skull shattered into shards of bone and flesh. This sudden scene of insane brute force stunned the remaining 4 black-robed men and the 2 Shui family members. The true qi that was embodied with the majesty of the azure dragon caused their hearts to be shocked from fear. Of course, the most shocking thing to them was the martial technique that they had never seen before. After Chen Shang broke the skull of the black-robed man, the dragon claw immediately transformed back into a fist striking towards another black-robed man. In an instant, he struck dozens of times, forming afterimages like the wind. They were sent whistling towards the astonished black-robed man. The blows pounded onto his body and after the strike, emitted a series of explosions. This was the storm-killing fist. Chen Zhang's true chi was now much more potent, and so casting storm-killing fist was quite simple and easy. He did not have to worry about the consumption of true chi, and each fist's explosive power was phenomenal. It was quite difficult to resist, not to mention the fact that he could instantly use this technique multiple times. With a moment of effort, Chen Shang had defeated another black-robed man. After that display, the two Shui family teenagers finally reacted and continued to attack with their swords. After Chen Shang had joined the fight, the remaining black-robed men began to retreat after witnessing their two defeats. They were soon beaten and seriously injured, and they did not expect this type of result. "Thanks a lot for the rescue, esteemed senior brother," one slightly tall teenager said while cupping his fist. "This one is called little brother Shui Ming." "Shui Zhilang," the other teenager said while cupping his fist. "Thanks a lot for coming to the rescue, great brother." Although Chen Shang was only 16 years old, he was very big and tall, so he looked relatively more mature. "No need to be so polite, I am called Chen Shang. Our Chen and Shui family have had a friendship for many generations, so this is a must." Chen Shang also replied with courtesy. This caused Shui Ming and Shui Zhilang's countenance to change. They had not expected their savior to be Chen Shang. Chen Shang was quite famous in the Shui family because their beloved daughter of the heavens, Shui Shenxian, was Chen Zhang's fiancée. However, many juniors of the Shui family were not in favor of Chen Shang because they knew Chen Shang does not have a martial practitioner's spiritual vein. They were thus amazed at Chen Zhang's display of strength. "Are you really Chen Shang?" Shui Ming found it somewhat hard to believe. Chen Shang, while nodding and smiling, said, "Of course, you two should be here to attend our Chen family's banquet, right?" Shui Ming and Shui Zhilang nodded their heads. Although they were uncertain, they did not question Chen Shang anymore. After all, it would be impolite. This person was their savior. What is the origin of these people? Why were they trying to assassinate you? Chen Shang looked at the three injured black-robed men on the ground. Shui Ming said, "They are killers from an unknown organization. Their strength should be at the 5th level of the mortal martial realm. We met them on the way." Shui Ming and Shui Zhilang beheaded the remaining three. They did not uncover anything from their possessions, and they also did not intend to interrogate them. Since these assassins were specially trained, they would not open their mouth even in death. "Great brother Chen, you should have entered the 6th level of the mortal martial realm. Otherwise, you could not have easily killed those two black-robed men." Shui Ming thought about Chen Zhang's sudden rush and how he killed the two black-robed men instantly. One could not help but feel chills run down their spine. They respected Chen Shang because although they were much older than him, he was still stronger than them. Chen Shang nodded with a smile. "I just broke through." Chen released true chi flames and incinerated the corpses. This made Shui Ming and Shui Zhilang slightly surprised. True chi flames was an alchemical flame. This time, they understood why Chen Shang had the courage to accept the challenge of the Yao family genius. Shui Zhilang had an ashamed look on his face as he spoke. "Great brother Chen, I really did not think that you had concealed your strength all this time. Before I used to always look down upon you, please forgive me." Chen Shang shook his head and said with a smile, "No problem, after all, strength comes first in this world." "Right, is Shenxian coming to attend the banquet?" Shui Ming smiled and said, "She is the cause of the challenge between you and Yao family genius, how can she not come? No wonder this little girl only has great brother Chen in her heart and so much confidence in her choice." Chen Shang was speechless. He did not think that Shui Shenxian would truly pass on his challenge to the Yao family genius. Initially, he had indeed said it, but he had not thought that it would arrive this quickly. "Great brother Chen, that Yao family genius is very cunning. Although you are strong, the challenge is issued by him, so he will definitely compete in alchemy. His strength is probably also not weak, it has always been a mystery." Shui Ming said. Shui Zhilang nodded and added, "I've seen that guy, he is very arrogant. Previously he was invited to our Shui family, and he was already looking at little sister Shenxian and did not pay any attention to other people. However, his alchemy is splendid, thus the patriarch and elders endured him. Therefore, they want to match Shenxian and that guy in a marriage." Chen Shang had already heard about the Yao family genius. He was known to be very arrogant and proud, but many people thought it was natural considering he was one of the youngest alchemists. In front was the hustling and bustling Wohu City. Chen Shang and Shui Ming noticed in the distance a team of horses gradually moving towards Wohu City. This team of horses and carriages was very grand, a total of 5 luxurious horse carriages, and each was being towed by 8 steeds, but one carriage team had a man riding a horse who looked imposing and cold. His whole face teemed with slaughter chi, and with one look one could easily tell that he was a bodyguard. Yes, Yao family members are really extraordinary, Chen Shang said as he saw the big Yao symbol on the horse carriage, while those bodyguards' luxurious clothing also had the Yao insignia on it. The Yao family style had always been high profile. You 3, quickly report your name. Otherwise, we will deal with you as murderers. Suddenly a fierce shout came from the carriage team. This made Chen Shang and Shui Ming unpleased. At that instant, just after their reply, a long two-edged sword came like an arrow out of the blue. On top of it, vigorous true chi was seen, and it was flying precisely towards Chen Shang. Chapter 17, Martial Arts Sect. Chapter 17, Martial Arts Sect. Chen Shang quickly took a few steps, his hand similar to a dragon's claw. It shot out like lightning, firmly grasped the flying sword, and suddenly a powerful chi exploded. While blocking the true chi from the sword, Chen Zhang's arm was the only thing that slightly moved. He stood firmly and steadily like a mountain. Chen Shang coldly said, I am Chen Shang, a Chen family member. Who are you? Quickly report your name or else I will treat you as killers. This declaration made Shui Ming and Shui Zhilang's hearts tremble. Chen Shang was clearly being provocative towards the Yao family carriage. It should be known that the Yao family had sent many experts to protect their family genius. Just that flying sword alone was enough to make their guts tighten. If it were them standing there instead of Chen Shang, they would certainly not be able to block that sword. Brother Shang. During the silence between both sides, a sweet and gentle shout came from inside the carriage. Suddenly a slender silhouette came flying out with staggering speed. Without good eyesight, one simply would not be able to catch the person's appearance. However, Chen Shang could clearly tell that it was Shui Shenxian. Her Qinggong had reached a high degree of proficiency. Even Chen Shang could not help but gasp in surprise. TLN, Qinggong Chinese martial technique for dodging and movement. Shui Shenxian's movement seemed like she was only skimming the ground. In one breath she treaded 100 feet and arrived in front of Chen Shang and the others. With a charming smile she said, Xiao Qi, Xiao Ba, you are also here. Shui Ming and Shui Zilan both snorted, as Shui Ming said, little girl, you should not call us like that in front of outsiders. Otherwise, how are we supposed to show our faces in public? Shui Shenxian stuck her tongue out and then laughed tenderly, revealing 2 little dimples on her sweet and tender cheeks. It was a beautiful and heart-rending expression. Chen Shang couldn't help but squeeze Shui Shenxian's beautiful face and with a laugh said, how can you be together with your husband's enemies? Just now, I was almost killed by that group of people. Shui Shenxian furrowed her nose, laughing softly, I know Brother Shang is very formidable, that sword was thrown by a Yao family elder. Chen Shang recalled that the previous True Chi explosion was indeed quite frightening. Its power was at least in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. However, he practiced all 5 elements of True Chi so he could easily best it. The Yao family's carriage stopped as several people stepped down from the horse carriage. It seemed like they were waiting for Chen Shang to step aside. Brother Shang, we should move. Shui Shenxian softly said. No, it is not necessary. Chen Shang looked coldly at the carriage team while remembering the ruthlessly thrown sword, and in his heart he was furious. That was because if it were an ordinary person, then they would have died unjustly. Chen family Jr., come and salute the Yao family elder. A person waiting near the carriage shouted. I'm not going to salute someone who just tried to kill me. Furthermore, there is not a single rule in my Chen family which directs me to salute a Yao family elder. Chen Shang replied coldly. Shui Ming and Shui Ziliang suddenly admired Chen Shang. He dared not only to contradict a Yao family member, but did so in the presence of a Yao family elder. Humph, a good-for-nothing showing arrogance. We will continue on our way. Ironically, a voice full of arrogance was heard. It sounded very weak, yet still reached Chen Zhang's ear, which showed that this man's strength was quite good. After all, they were separated by at least 100 feet. Shui Shenxian's eyebrows wrinkled. While softly snorting, she held onto Chen Zhang's arm and whispered, don't mind him. Chen Shang sneered. He tightly gripped the sword that was thrown just a moment ago and poured his true chi into it before throwing the sword towards that distant carriage team. Azure true chi enveloped the sword. It flew and pierced the middle carriage wheel while discharging an azure light, which was followed by an explosion that shattered the whole wheel. But since the luxurious carriage had 4 wheels, it remained stable. Shui Ming, Shui Zhilang and Shui Shenxian were dumbfounded. They did not expect Chen Shang to repeatedly provoke the Yao family members. They also felt extremely shocked regarding the sword throw from Chen Shang. The formidable strength put into it was actually comparable with the sword that was formerly thrown by the Yao family elder a moment earlier. Sorry, I just returned the sword yet no one was there to receive it. Chen Shang faintly said. However, his voice was transmitted in all 4 directions and was filled with provocation. You're courting death, Yao Tianhua angrily shouted, yet he did not follow suit. It seemed as if he was being blocked. The carriage team continued onward as if nothing had happened. My father is still inside the carriage, I have to accompany him. I probably won't have the opportunity to stay beside him in the future. Shui Shenxian said with a distressed tone. Her beautiful face revealed a somewhat anxious expression. Chen Shang caressed her hair while softly speaking, go. Shui Shenxian dashed away. Chen Shang thoughtfully looked at her departing back and asked, why would she not have the opportunity to accompany her father in the future? Shui Ming spoke with a furrowed brow, Big brother Chen, have you heard about those martial arts sects inside the Immortal Mountains? This little girl will probably be fancied by those martial arts sects and enroll in one of them. The number of powerful martial experts in the sects were as plentiful as the clouds in the sky. Many martial artists aspired their whole life to go there, but the best time to go would be during childhood. If you want to enter those sects, it's best to apply after advancing to the 9th level of the mortal martial realm, otherwise you would not be able to properly accompany her. Su Meiyao suddenly said. Chen Shang had a strong desire to enter those sects. After all, once he was there, he would be able to experience the strength of much more formidable martial artists. The spirit chi was also rich there, which would allow him to display the full potential of his yin and yang divine vein. Chen Shang, with Shui Ming and Shui Zhilang entered Wohu City. The Shui family had some shops inside, so they turned down Chen Zhang's invitation to accompany him into the Chen family villa. The Chen family villa was quite lively inside. There were only 3 days until the banquet. Chen Shang quickly greeted his father before returning to his own residence. My current cultivation is at the 6th level of the mortal martial realm. I think I can now start to refine middle-grade mortal level dance. Chen Shang looked at the 2 beautiful girls who were drinking fragrant tea. Bai Yuyu said, although I am not an alchemist, I know that the materials required to refine mortal level dans are very expensive. If you want to refine them, you also need to spend a large amount of spirit coins. Su Meiyao lightly sipped the tea with a smile, saying, that is not a problem. Don't you have the Hell Spirit Grass, and the 1000-year Blood Spirit Grass? If these 2 spirit herbs were sold, that would be enough for the supply cost. Chen Shang had obviously not forgotten that he had these 2 precious spirit herbs. He smiled and asked, elder sisters, don't you have any treasuries with you? Currently, I do not have unsuitable weapons on me. Su Meiyao sighed, my magic storage weapon was taken away by the enemy. Fortunately I was able to conceal one storage ring, but it only has some clothes inside, nothing more. While speaking on this matter, Bai Yuyu's elegant and beautiful face was filled with anger as she accidentally crushed the teacup. Chen Shang could easily tell that there was a lot of good things inside that magical storage weapon. You practice the divine exercise of 4 symbols. The most suitable weapons for you to use are the 4 beasts' divine weapons, but these are not easy to find, because each one is a divine weapon. Su Meiyao's words made Chen Shang feel slightly excited. Chapter 18, First Confrontation. Chapter 18, First Confrontation. Divine weapons. Weapons used by gods. Wouldn't it clearly be very powerful? Furthermore, there were even 4 in total. But listening to the previous statements, these 4 beasts' divine weapons were extremely special and even ethereal. Bai Yuyu said, these 4 beasts' divine weapons were born with the divine exercise of 4 symbols. Our teacher only got the divine exercise of 4 symbols while the actual divine weapons were lost with no trace. It is said that only someone who practices the divine exercise of 4 symbols can even hope to gain the recognition of the 4 beasts' divine weapons. Su Meiyao spread her hands and said, although I practice the divine exercise of 4 symbols, I have no intention of ever finding those 4 beasts' divine weapons. I'm simply not interested. Chen Shang and the 2 girls chatted for quite some time. From these discussions, he learned a lot about the world of martial arts. Chen Shang took 10,000 spirit coins from Chen Tianyu and arrived in a hurry at Spirit Dan Hall. He wanted to seize the time to refine a middle-grade mortal level Dan. This was not only to defeat the Yao family genius, but also to help him quickly elevate his strength. What? The price was actually raised by 3-fold. Chen Shang standing near the counter knitted his eyebrows together while looking at the Spirit Dan Hall's lord. The Spirit Dan Hall's lord caressed his beard and said, "This is the stated price. If you have any questions, you can ask the owner." Spirit Dan Hall's owner. This was the first time Chen Shang even heard of someone like him. In the past, was it not what the Hall Lord said that counted? Starting today, as long as a Chen family member is the one to buy any dans, it will be 5 times the price. At this time, an arrogant voice was heard. Chen Shang knew that this voice belonged to Yao Tianhua. The Spirit Dan Hall was unexpectedly purchased by the Yao family. The Spirit Dan Hall suddenly became quiet. Everyone was silently looking at the teenager who was walking down the stairs. He was quite handsome with fair skin. He wore luxurious golden attire and behind him were 2 old men with sharp gazes. His pair of eyes were full of pride. Glancing at everyone, his line of sight finally stopped to rest on Chen Shang. This teenager was the Yao family genius, Yao Tianhua. Inside Wohu City, dans were only sold at Spirit Dan Hall. They had the final say on their prices, buying them or not was all up to the individual. Now that Spirit Dan Hall was controlled by the Yao family, the jealousy and hatred of Yao Tianhua seeped towards Chen Shang and definitely played a part in the new attitude towards the Chen family. You are buying the herbs to refine a baptizing marrow dan. Moreover, the seedlings. What, are you going to refine them? Yao Tianhua said with a face full of disdain. So what, could it be in this world you are the only one who can become an alchemist? Chen Shang sneered. I heard that you can release decent true chi flames, but that doesn't mean you could use them for alchemy is awfully picky when it comes to flames. If a poor ruffian like you could refine pills, then the world would not have so little alchemists. Yao Tianhua sneered in reply. In Chen Zhang's mind flashed one thought, he just thought of an ingenious plan. While laughing he said, Yao family genius, this poor ruffian does indeed, truly understand alchemy. How about we make a bet, well assuming you dare to bet with me that is. Yao Tianhua suddenly laughed, you understand alchemy, you should not be refining dans through bragging. Good, good, good. What do you want to be? I will accompany you until the end. Looking at the fish that just took the bait, Chen Shang felt happy in his heart as he took out a blood-red spirit grass. This spirit grass is around the size of a plate and released a bizarre kind of smell. This was the 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass that he won from Chen Haohai. After this blood spirit grass was put forth, everyone in Spirit Dan Hall could not help but change their expression. Even Yao Tianhua's face was filled with surprise. He was a Yao family junior and could with one glance recognize that this blood spirit grass was at least 1,000 years old. This was a very expensive spirit herb, and as a result had no set market price. I would like to bet this 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass. Can this young master of the Yao family afford to bet with me? Chen Shang said with a faint smile, as long as I can refine a pill, I win. Opposingly, if I am not able to refine one, I lose. Simple as that, how is it? Do you dare to bet with me? Looking at Chen Zhang's appearance, it was as if bringing out the incomparably precious 1,000-year-old spirit grass was simply not valuable based on how casually he brought it out. Yao Tianhua had a very arrogant nature, being extremely concerned about face. In any case, he would definitely not reject the bet, but the betting stakes were simply too high this time. Although he was the Yao family genius and carried along a large amount of money, but he was still unable to compare it with this blood spirit grass. Chen Shang actually carried around 1,000-year blood spirit grass. This made many people hold him in high esteem. No one even dared to have any thought of robbing him. After all, in Wohu City, the Chen family was very respected. Currently, Chen Zhang's father was the Chen family patriarch. Chen Zhang's status could only be imagined by looking at the 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass. After seeing Yao Tianhua's complexion become extremely ugly, Chen Shang felt good inside his heart. He pointed at the top of a small piece of the 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass and said, Young Master Yao has only come to Wohu City for the first time, so you didn't know I was just joking with you. Let's bet this small piece. If I win, you just have to give me 3 sets of mature herbs required to refine a baptizing marrow dan. A fingernail-size section of that blood spirit grass was more than enough to exchange for 3 sets of baptizing marrow dan ingredients. Yao Tianhua's complexion became a lot better as he heaves a heavy sigh of relief in his heart, replying, No problem, let's begin. After Chen Shang retrieved the blood spirit grass, he immediately took out his inferior alchemy furnace and let the Spirit Dan Hall's lord examine it. After confirming there was no issues with the furnace, Chen Shang took out some herbs and began to process them. At this time, everyone was intently watching Chen Shang. Everyone who came here, more or less, yearned to become an alchemist, and actually witnessing the process of alchemy was a somewhat rare occasion for them. No one was against watching the various processes of alchemy, not to mention if it was a teenager that was the one doing it. True chi flames poured out from Chen Shang. The spirit Dan Hall's lord's old face was filled with regret from Chen Shang's refusal to become his apprentice. Upon seeing the flames, he knew that this was the flame best suited for alchemy. After seeing the flames, Yao Tianhua could not help but frown as his complexion became very grim. He cursed in his heart, "Damn brat, he has been hiding his abilities well." Watching Chen Zhang's skilled motions and calm look, Yao Tianhua secretly gritted his teeth. He had determined that Chen Shang had a certain amount of experience in regards to alchemy, furthermore it was no worse than his. Chen Shang was definitely the most adept in refining a quenching body dan. This pill was not only easy to refine, but required very little herbs. If one also had good control of their flames, they could refine many pills at once. When the crowd witnessed the relaxed expression on Chen Zhang's face, they were amazed. They had never seen someone refining dans so leisurely before. Unknowingly, an hour passed by. After watching Chen Zhang's slightly serious complexion vanish, everyone knew that Chen Shang had passed the most crucial step of refinement. Done. Chen Shang opened the lid of his alchemy furnace. Overflowing herbal fragrance drifted inside the hall. Everyone came and crowded around the furnace while staring Cindy. They all saw white mist slowly winding around 5 snow-white pills. The crowd sucked in a deep breath. Chen Shang had actually refined the quenching body dan. The spirit Dan Hall's lord's face froze. Seeing those 5 quenching body dans in front of him was hard to believe. He was also an alchemist, so he was able to clearly distinguish the quality of these quenching body dans from their color and aroma. Yet because it was of a superior quality and refined in only a short period of time, furthermore from this inferior quality alchemy furnace, most people could not accept the fact that this was refined by a 16-year-old. Chapter 19. Baptizing Marrow Dan. Chapter 19. Baptizing Marrow Dan. Yao Tianyu's fair and handsome face started to turn ugly. His face muscles were slightly twitching. He was also shocked by Chen Zhang's alchemy technique. He had not thought that there was another young alchemist in this world that was on par with him. Chen Shang placed the 5 quenching body dans on his palm. Like eating candies, he popped them into his mouth. While smiling he said to Yao Tianhua, "Now, can you please give me those herbs for the baptizing marrow dan?" Watching Chen Shang causally eating the freshly refined quenching body dans, the corners of everyone's mouth started twitching as they cursed Chen Zhang's prodigal skills. They wished they could ruthlessly trample him with their feet. Treating dans like snacks dealt an extremely heavy blow to them. Do all alchemists usually treat dans like candies? Chen Shang placed the 5 quenching body dan on his palm. Like eating candies, he puts them in his mouth, and while smiling, he said to Yao Tianhua, "Now you can give me those herbs for baptizing marrow dan." Spirit Dan Hall's lord's 2 hands were shivering as he gave 3 sets of herbs to Chen Shang. Wearing a look of surprise, he asked, "You aren't going to try and refine a baptizing marrow dan, are you?" Chen Shang scratched his head. There's a first time for everything, and they're not always bad things. Your spirit Dan Hall is now selling these dans at such an expensive price, so I can only resort to refining my own dans. Chen Shang received the herbs and turned around to leave. He turned his head back when he reached the door and said to Yao Tianhua, "Young Master Yao, a few days later the time of our alchemy competition will arrive. At that time, I hope that you will be able to raise the gambling stakes and actually bet with me. Since it is a competition, it should have a little more flair and fun. At that time, I will also raise the stakes. If you are unable to match them, you don't need to show up and compete with me." Chen Shang left with his mischievous words residing in the hall. Everyone inside Spirit Dan Hall suddenly began discussing about his terms. 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass as a bet was able to scare even heaven, much less man, and he still wanted to raise the bet. TLN. Too exaggerating smiley face. Yao Tianhua coldly snorted with anger before he headed upstairs. Inside Spirit Dan Hall, its lord murmured, "Impossible. He is only 16 years old. It would be impossible for him to refine a baptizing marrow dan." Chen Zhang's mood was extremely good from getting the 3 sets of baptizing marrow dan ingredients for free. Soon he would be able to refine the baptizing marrow dan. "Little devil, do not turn the boat in a trench. It's better to be careful," Su Meiyao reminded him. "Compared to other things, alchemy is really boring. You should just go and chop him up into pieces." Bai Yuyu's chilling voice came. Hearing this statement, Chen Shang could not help but shiver. He knew that Bai Yuyu was a peerless she-devil lord that was practicing devil exercises. Suddenly he doesn't want to practice Bai Yuyu's devil exorcies anymore. Chen Shang returned to the Chen family villa. He inquired Chen Tianyu and learned that both Shui Shenxian and her father were staying as a guest in the city lord's villa. Furthermore, many other families from Wohu City were frequently paying them a visit. It must be known that Shui Shenxian's father was someone with many connections. Chen Shang arrived at the secret underground stone room. To refine the baptizing marrow Dan, he first needed to concentrate and could not be bothered. Opening the package, Su Meiyao fiddled with the herbs in her exuberant smooth fingers and nodded with satisfaction. 50-year-old blood ginseng, 50-year-old spirit leaf grass, profound elemental fruit, and yang fire flower. The quality of these 4 herbs are pretty good. As for the rest of them, they are of ordinary quality but would not affect the refinement of the baptizing marrow Dan. Chen Shang picked up a white fruit that was the size of a walnut and picked up a small flower that resembled a sunflower. These were the profound elemental fruit and yang fire flower respectively. Their prices were very expensive as they took dozens of years to mature. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu did not want to stay all day inside the ring, so whenever they got the chance they would come out. At the same time, they often chatted with Chen Shang, which helped keeping them from feeling too bored. Chen Shang also liked it when both stunning beauties would emerge from time to time. After all, they were very beautiful and their just appearances would make people feel pleasant and happy. Accompanying these 2 beauties was a very wonderful opportunity. Sister Meiyao, if I use the dragon saliva exercise to mature the herbs for the baptizing marrow Dan, how long do you think it would take? Asked Chen Shang. He knew that the herbs for the baptizing marrow Dan required them to be at least dozens of years old. Su Meiyao rolled her pretty eyes and said, it will probably take 10 days. You are now at the 6th level of the mortal martial realm, you can now use more of the dragon saliva exercise's abilities. Only 10 days to mature spirit herbs by dozens of years. This made Chen Shang pretty surprised. Su Meiyao said, begin refining now. While refining the baptizing marrow Dan, you need to pay attention to 2 main points. First, because more herbs are required to make the Dan and each herb has different levels of flame resistance, you need to control your flames extremely accurately to make sure you don't burn some of the auxiliary herbs. Second, when it becomes time to solidify and congeal the pill, you need to make sure you have comprehended the essence of the pill at that time. Chen Shang tried to remember each and every word. Then he turned towards the not-so-far elegant beauty, asking, Sister Yuyu, can you please return to the inside of the ring? The cold qi emitted from your body will affect my control over my flames. Bai Yuyu's complexion immediately turned even more cold, causing Chen Shang to hastily say, Sister Yuyu, you are extremely beautiful. If it wasn't a last resort, there would be no way I would want a stunning beauty like you to return to the inside of a ring. Su Meiyao heard this and laughed over and over. Beautiful senior sister, don't scare this little guy. Let him refine his Dan in peace. A humped sound could be heard from Bai Yuyu before she returned to the ring. Chen Shang started to refine the baptizing marrow Dan, which is a middle-grade mortal level Dan. 1 pill could be sold for 5,000 spirit coins. Since spirit Dan halls prices were now increased, it could probably be sold for 10,000 spirit coins, which was equivalent to 1 million small spirit coins. After placing the herbs inside the furnace, Chen Shang released his flames, simultaneously controlling the flames and temperature inside the alchemy furnace. The temperature of each region varied slightly in order to bake those herbs at the optimal temperature and completely release their respective spirit qi. The herbs required for the baptizing marrow Dan were not easy to use. Chen Shang spent more than 1 hour before he could grasp the characteristics of each of the herbs and identify their degree of fire resistance. At this time, a colorful spirit qi was drifting inside the furnace. This spirit qi was released by those spirit herbs during their baking through the true flames. These were the main ingredients in the creation of spirit dans. The herbs were slowly transforming into herbal powder. Chen Zhang's divine sense was slowly wrapping around the herbal powder. At this moment, as long as this herbal powder and the released herbal qi were fused, he would be able to successfully congeal the Dan. Everything started off well, but at the final step Chen Shang was sweating. This herbal qi was very brutal in nature, making it very difficult to fuse different types of them together. No wonder divine sense is a requirement before refining the baptizing marrow Dan. These spirit herbs herbal qi are very difficult to control, Chen Shang thought while adhering. He then concentrated his spirit and released even more divine sense, forcing these colorful herbal qis to fuse together. At least they started to turn into a black spirit qi and started to fuse with the gray herbal powder. I must be successful and endure. Chen Zhang's heart only had this one thought. The herbal powder and herbal qi were gradually fusing, but he felt as if his divine sense was not powerful enough to successfully congeal them into pills. Chapter 20. A Prodigious Talent. Chapter 20. A Prodigious Talent. Chen Shang watched as the herbal powders mixed and were about to congeal into a dan. Bang! A horrid sound spread through the air and a rapid qi wave burst out from the alchemic furnace. Chen Shang quickly retreated and glared at the fallen lid with a stunned face and sweat dripping down his back. That damn furnace exploded. Are you okay? Su Meiyao asked with a slight disregard as she combed her hair. I'm all right, replied Chen Shang, trying to catch his breath. When he had somewhat calmed down, he inspected his alchemic furnace to check for any damages. Surprisingly, it was fine. Su Meiyao's lips spread into a slight smile as said encouragingly, then continue. It's common for such a thing to happen. Seeing Su Meiyao's fascinating and charming smile, the sense of failure in Chen Zhang's mind was swept away. Having calmed down, he took a few moments of rest and then brought out more herbs. 1, 2, and 3 hours passed, and once again Chen Shang arrived at the last step only to fail. Fortunately, the furnace had not exploded like the last time. Chen Shang sighed and said, "This is too difficult to refine. There are only one set of herbs remaining, which means that I only have one more chance left to succeed." Looking at the sweat on Chen Zhang's furrowed face, Su Meiyao came up to him. With a damp towel, she wiped it off and said, "Little one, this sister here, during her time of refining the baptizing marrow dan exploded several alchemic furnaces. You are doing well at the rate you're going. According to my estimation, for you to be successful, it would probably take you at least another 20 more tries." Staring into Su Meiyao's bewitching eyes, Chen Shang became flustered. The allure of her beauty made his heart throb, and at that moment, his mind could not help but think of her naked image burned in his mind. "What, 20 times? That won't do. I do not have that much money to spend," Chen Shang said. He shook his head, trying to stay focused and clear those disturbing images floating in his mind. As if reading Chen Zhang's mind, Su Meiyao played cutely and shook her bosom a little. "Little guy, you going off into wild flights of fantasy has nothing to do with me, but if your thoughts wander towards senior sister, you will probably be out of luck." A sudden thought of an elegant and beautiful Bai Yu, filled with a bloodthirsty and cruel qi, one rod of slaughter, came to Chen Zhang's mind, and he laughed. He felt silly and did not dare to take another glance at the giggling soft bosom of Su Meiyao again. A proud smile bloomed on Su Meiyao's face. After that, Chen Shang took more than an hour of rest. In the meantime, he listened to Su Meiyao's narration of her experience in refining the baptizing marrow dan. When Chen Shang had fully rested, he once again attempted to refine it, only, this time, it was twice as quick. After about an hour and a half, he was at the last stage of solidifying the dan. Su Meiyao's eyes glittered as she watched. In her opinion, it would have been impossible for Chen Shang to refine the baptizing marrow dan so quickly, but it was successful. Thus, Su Meiyao could not help but feel admiration towards the boy's alchemic talent. At that moment, she could see an amazing and diverse future for Chen Shang, more than she had ever expected to live herself. "Senior sister, our divine veins were not passed on to the wrong person. This man has not disappointed us," Su Meiyao transmitted to Bai Yu inside of the ring using her divine sense. "This is merely better than the most," Bai Yu said in a cold voice, but Su Meiyao could sense a trace of a rare smile. A moment later, Chen Shang opened his eyes. Filled with excitement, he propped the lid of the furnace open. After seeing what's inside, he looked towards Su Meiyao in excitement. "Sister Meiyao, I did it. I refined the baptizing marrow dan." Bai Yu came out from inside the ring. At that moment, like Su Meiyao, her eyes gleamed with surprise and joy. They had pinned all of their hopes on Chen Shang, and after seeing his level of inherent talent, they couldn't help but be happy. Ordinarily, 3 baptizing marrow dans could be refined at the same time. Chen Shang was only able to refine 2 dans, but it had taken him only a day to successfully refine them. Such a thing can only be done by someone of great talent. Chen Zhang's actions showed he not only had the ability, but an unusual perception that could detect the subtle changes during the dan congealing process. After a few tries, with such a perception, Chen Shang was able to become attuned with what was necessary to succeed. Su Meiyao ruffled Chen Zhang's hair, her alluring eyes locked onto him as she smiled and said, "Good brat, you did not disappoint me." Hearing Su Meiyao, Bai Yu nodded in agreement. The cold look in her eyes had softened considerably. Watching the 2 stunning beauties praising him, and with such closeness, Chen Zhang's heart was filled with pride. But although he was successful this time, it did not mean that he would succeed every time. Not allowing his pride to dampen his resolution, he went to refine a few more dans before he left the underground private room. Just as he left, a girl wearing a purple skirt, sitting in the small hall, came into his view. She had a noble air about her and looked absolutely stunning. For a moment, Chen Zhang's mind went blank as he asked in a confused voice, "Shenxian, why are you here?" Shui Shenxian looked at Chen Shang and said, "What? Can't I come to find you? Well, you are an adult. So you should be the one to look after me, right? Why am I the one who is always coming for you? HMPH. After all, this will just make me a joke in front of others." Chen Shang scratched his head in embarrassment. He had honestly wanted to go to find Shui Shenxian, but he first wanted to practice his alchemy. He sauntered to Shui Shenxian and brushed his hand against her face. The girl's face turned bright red as she blushed. "Shui Shenxian, I'm truly sorry. I have been busy with my alchemy. Please, take this as my apology." Chen Shang took out a small box containing 2 black dans. There were the same baptizing marrow dans he had just refined. Shui Shenxian opened the box and said with a soft shout, "Baptizing marrow dan. Did Xiao Shang brother refine it?" Chen Shang smiled and said, "I only managed to refine them due to luck. I do not have any more raw materials now, and was just preparing to buy more, but the spirit dan hall now belongs to the Yao family. If I were to buy from them, I would have to pay several times that of the market price. Shenxian, can you help me buy some of these herbs?" Shui Shenxian bent her head in serious thought. Her demeanor and her face became stern as she said in a serious voice, "Certainty, but Xiao Shang brother, you can refine baptizing marrow dan at this age. This is simply too astonishing." Shui Shenxian then brought her voice level to a whisper and continued, "Xiao Shang brother, you can later enter those martial arts sects and can most likely reach the pinnacle of martial arts." Chen Shang nodded and said, "I plan to, but presently I do not have enough strength." "Shenxian, did some sect come to recruit you?" The girl sighed and answered, "It is not a sect, but a person. She has received our Shui family's grace, and she fancies me and wants me to be her apprentice. She seems to be a member of some martial arts sect, but she did not specifically mention about its identity. I will follow her, and soon." Shui Shenxian stopped herself in dismay. "It does not matter. It is the goal of every martial artist, and sooner or later, I will go as well," said Chen Shang as he took out a 10,000 spirit coin bill and gave it to Shui Shenxian. Taking the bill from Chen Shang, Shui Shenxian said, "Baptizing marrow dan is of no use to me now, so I will help you sell it in exchange for the herbs you need. Xiao Shang brother. Wait for me, I will be back quickly." After Shui Shenxian left, Chen Shang hurriedly took a bath. Just as he finished, Shui Shenxian returned with a mature and charming white-robed lady with her. If Chen Shang had previously not encountered Bai Yu and Su Meiyao, he would have been easily smitten by the lady. This middle-aged beauty coming with Shui Shenxian had an oval face that was clear of any makeup. Her skin was pale and tender, and unexpectedly, she was in no way inferior to Shui Shenxian. With a smile on her face, she looked at Chen Shang with her phoenix-like eyes, and her graceful figure exuded an imposing manner. Along with the power coursing in those eyes of hers, she could easily have been mistaken as an aloof goddess with an Armageddon might. Chapter 21, Divine Weapons Heavenly Empire.